items, please let's ensure we use those trash cans. If you have any question that you need clarification upon, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Philip. A round of applause for yourselves once again, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and thank you for joining us in this year's annual Power and Utilities Roundtable. The theme of this year's session is Nigeria's multi-tier electricity market, imperatives for successful evolution. Let me check in the room. How many of you, us here, you've attended Power Roundtable for 3-4 years and above? Anybody in the room? Okay. You've attended for, this is your second time. Okay, very good. Is this your first time? Oh, okay, good. So we have many first-timers, right? So thank you for joining us, and we hope that you will join us subsequent years. But for those who have been here year on year, you would agree with me that the PwC Annual Power and Utilities Roundtable has become the mecca of some sort of knowledge for power and utilities in Nigeria. And year on year, we try to look at topics and key issues in the sector and reflect, evaluate, and agree on some sort of way forward for the country. And this year is not different, as our conversations will include industry leaders, policymakers, regulators, operators, financiers, and key stakeholders. We're here today to reflect, reevaluate, and reimagine the future of the electricity and power market in Nigeria. The minister is here today and a couple of other distinguished guests. I will recognize them in due course, but before I do that, I'd like to invite our chief host for today, Sam Abu, who is the regional senior partner for PwC West Market Area and the country senior partner for Nigeria. Sam Abu will be coming up to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Sam Abu, please. A round of applause for him.
Thank you, Kola. And good morning, everyone. We've had this for 15 years now, or thereabouts. And Kola says we're looking forward to seeing you subsequently. Personally, I don't want to see you again, because not having this Power Roundtable again will be a sign that we do not need it anymore. Correct? The reason we're having this Power Roundtable is because there are still issues to discuss. So I'm looking forward to a time in Nigeria where there is no need to have a conversation about power or have a roundtable. Kola, sorry about that. Okay. So good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, Honorable Commissioner, whenever they get in here. And welcome to the 2025 PwC Power and Utilities Roundtable. So for over a decade now, 15 years, I think, this platform, as Kola has indicated, has brought together the people shaping Nigeria's power future and electricity future. And today, more than ever, we're here not just to analyze problems, but to think about solutions. This year's theme is timely. The Electricity Act of 2023 opened a new chapter, one of the biggest shifts since PHCN's unbundling. For the first time, states can build and regulate their own electricity markets. So we're moving from a single centralized system to a multi-tier, multi-player energy ecosystem, one that can unlock competition, innovation, and real service. But this transition is complex. It requires clear rules, strong regulation, investment, and alignment across all levels of government and industry. If we get this right, Nigeria wins. And among the key benefits, one, a more competitive market, that attracts capital. 2, local decentralized solutions driven by state-level innovation. 3, retail markets closer to the consumer, more responsive, more efficient. 4, better financial sustainability through cost-reflective pricing. And 5, greater reliability and energy security for homes, businesses, and industries. This is about powering industries, powering jobs, increasing productivity, and enhancing economic growth. But to unlock these opportunities, there are 5 priorities that must be front and center, and I hope we get to discuss them today. 1, regulatory coordination. A multi-tier market must not become a multi-conflict market. There needs to be alignment between state and national. 2, market liquidity. We must address the gap between tariffs and affordability. 3, modern infrastructure. The future cannot run on yesterday's assets. 4, strong state markets. States need capacity, tools, and clear frameworks. Early movers like Enugu offer valuable lessons, and I think we have someone from Enugu State here today. And 5, sustainability. A cleaner, more resilient mix beyond diesel and petrol generators. No more I better pass my neighbor. At PwC, we continue to work with government, regulators, discos, GENCOs, financiers, investors, development partners, and private operators to build a stronger power ecosystem. You're welcome, Honorable Minister. I already said welcome to you before you got into the room. Nigeria's electricity reform is not a moment, it is a journey. One that demands vision, collaboration, discipline, and bold investment. Today's roundtable is another step on that journey, an opportunity to shape power access for over 200 million Nigerians and millions more across Africa. So as we engage today, let us stay curious, open, optimistic, and focused on what is possible. This sector has struggled for too long, but with the right institutions and the right partnerships, the future can be much better than the past. So thank you once again for being here, and I look forward to a productive and impactful conversation.
A round of applause one more time for Mr. Sam Abu, Regional and Country Senior Partner, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you very much. Okay, I would like to just recognize some of our distinguished guests here. We appreciate everyone who is here, and we recognize your presence, and we do not take your presence for granted. But if you permit me to quickly just recognize our guest of honor, Chief Adebayo Adelabu, Honorable Minister of Power, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yeah, thank you. Please clap for him. One of the interesting things about the Honorable Minister is, like some of us like to call them, is one of the ancestors of PwC. So once a PwC, forever a PwC. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. When I say ancestor, you can guess his age and when he was here. Also, in absentia, and he will join us pretty quickly, Mr. Abiodun Ogunleye, Honorable Commissioner, Lagos State Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. And I would also like to welcome a very big friend of the house, Dr. Abba Aliu, Chief Executive Officer, Rural Electrification Agency. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you. Also with us today is one of our speakers, Mrs. Rekiat Momo, the Chief Executive Officer of Eco Electricity Distribution Company. Thank you. Also with us is Mr. Peter Olowoloni, Director, Client Relations, Anglophone West African, Afrexim, Africa Export Import Bank. A round of applause for him. And please, a round of applause for yourselves for being here. Thank you very much. In the room, we have captains of industries, MDs, CEOs, CFOs, For the sake of time, we may not be able to mention all your names, but we appreciate you for coming. Okay, he walked in while Sam was speaking, and I would like to just very quickly invite him to take his opening remarks. The Honorable Minister of Power for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chief Adebayo Adelabu. Please a round of applause for him as he takes the stage. Please a round of applause for Honorable Sir once again. Thank you, sir.
The country's senior partners, Mr. Sam Abu, other partners from PwC, including my dear friend, Pedro Omotwewe, the Honorable Minister for Energy and Mineral Resources for Lagos State, Mr. Biodun Ogunleye, Alant is on his way. The managing director of professional tutelage in the early 90s, towards the late 90s, before I decided to train the tower and join the industry. The PwC, once you are a PwC, remain a PwC. And the versatility, the vibrancy that you inherit from this firm can never leave you. It makes you adaptable to anywhere you find yourself in any, is the case of an accountant in power. So when you have the money and you have the power, you know that sky is your limit. So I can start by saying that it gives me great pleasure to join you guys today for this important PwC Power and Utilities Roundtable. For me, like I said earlier, it is more than a professional engagement. It is another homecoming. Like I said, entering the room gave me some feelings and reminded me of my days of professional tutelage in PwC. As an alumnus of this great firm, I'm always reminded of the analytical discipline, global perspective, and commitment to excellence that shaped my early professional journey. And I'm proud to see PwC continue to convene conversations like this that influence national development, especially in a sector that is as critical as the power sector. The criticality of the power sector today makes its transformation highly imperative for the optimal performance of other critical sectors that contribute to our economic growth, industrial and national development. There is virtually any sector in this country today that can perform optimally without a functional and reliable power sector. I mean, think of it, be it in education, health, aviation, defense, blue and marine economy, and so on and so forth. To achieve optimal performance, there must be the support of the power sector. And there are so many histories of such nations that have leveraged on the functionality and reliability of the sector to take their countries to the next level. We all know the history of Singapore, know the history of South Korea, China, India, and so on and so forth. So Nigeria should be no exception. Which is why Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, in his inauguration speech, said he has adopted the power sector as a platform upon which every other critical sector in the economy will leverage to achieve optimality. And since then, he has not stopped giving us the required support to ensure the success of the reforms and transformation we embarked upon in this sector since its resumption in the passage of the Electricity Act of 2023 has reformed our power sector. Today, Nigeria has 15 state electricity markets at different stages of development, creating new opportunities for innovation and investment. What this means is simple. It means Nigeria has moved from a one-size-fits-all electricity market to a dynamic, custom-built, multi-tier federation of markets. We have tried centralization for over 6 decades, from the 60s down to 2023. That's almost 63 years. Has it worked? No. For the older ones among us here, we all remember what is called Electricity Company of Nigeria. Those that were born before or after independence, it is called ECN. For the younger ones, we all remember the National Electric Power Authority from the 70s down to 80s and late 90s. Then it transformed into what is called the Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN. That was there till the market reforms of 2013. All these agencies I mentioned were all federal government agencies. The power sector activities across all segments of the power sector value chain were fully concentrated at the federal level. But was it appropriate? Did it give us the desired outcome? Did we achieve the power sector of our dream with decentralization? My bold answer is no. And we all knew this. All we lacked then was the boldness, was the courage, was the political will of those in government to transform to a decentralized structure and a liberalized structure. Let's look at it. Nigeria is huge. We are vast in size. Over 920,000 square kilometers in size. Over 200 million people residing in Nigeria. We have 36 states plus the Federal Capital Territory. We have 774 local government areas spread across Nigeria, and we have almost 9,000 wards. How would someone think that centralizing power sector at the federal will give us an effective, functional, and reliable power sector? It is not possible. Which is why I always say that the president was God sent, that he had the boldness, the courage, and the will to depart from our past ways of doing things. And the first bill he signed into law on resumption of office in May 2023 was the Electricity Act of 2023, which was the breakthrough that we needed to transform and reform this sector for effectiveness, for efficiency, and for achievement of the power sector of our dream that can serve our households, that can serve our businesses, our institutions, be it health and education, and also support our industries for job creation, for export promotion, and for import substitution that will consequently lead to a stronger currency and less reliance on foreign currency to import some of our daily need goods. And we say, for us to be able to consume what we produce and produce what we consume, there must be a virile and active industrial sector. Without power sector, we cannot achieve that. So, I said that 2023 made us to achieve 2 things. Number 1 was decentralization. Instead of one central government catering for the power sector needs of our people, we now have people for the power sector. We have education, we have health, we have aviation, defense, interior, and so on and so forth. And what is the envelope of our annual appropriation? Can it ever cater for power sector? It is not possible. So what happened in other advanced countries was that the government will provide the conducive atmosphere, the appropriate operational environment, and allow the private sector investors to bring in money and fund every segment of the sector, from providing generation facilities, both conventional energy and renewable energy, by investing in the transmission infrastructures to enable transportation of energy from the point of generation to the point of need, which is distributed. Investment is required. But we are talking of thousands of power transformers, hundreds of power substations, thousands of kilometers of high voltage power lines, 330 kV, 132 kV lines, and down to distribution infrastructure, which is hundreds of thousands of medium level voltage lines of 33 and 11 kV, hundreds of thousands of distribution transformers, and injection substations. How can the government alone fund this? You must bring the private sector investors to inflow fund into this sector. So that now has been resolved. The state can take part, the private sectors can take part, but it's now being opened for interested investors. All they needed was the assurance their investment can be recouped in form of the principal they are bringing and some decent returns on their investment and the security of the environment, which this government is struggling to make available for them. And we have seen a lot of benefits of this in the past 2 years that we came into this administration. Lots of investment inflows, and we've never experienced the vibrancy of the power sector like we do now. The consciousness, the awareness of responsibility of each person in the power sector, all the stakeholders, from government to investors to the people themselves. Everybody is very conscious and aware of power generation, transmission, and distribution. So the strategic value of subnational electricity market is profound. Number one is it enhances efficiency and competition. It also enables state-specific solutions. It attracts greater investment from all corners. It improves reliability through potential inclusion of embedded generation and mini-grids. The states are now allowed to play in all the segments. Generation. Nigeria is a blessed country. We are well endowed with whatever is required, either for conventional energy generation, which is hydro and thermal plants. I mean, we have huge deposit of gas. We have large dams all over, from Kanji to Jeba to Shiroro, Dadinkowa, Kashimbila, Mambila, and all over. And the Niger Delta is filled with each deposit of both associated and non-associated gas, onshore and offshore. So what do we need? And we talk about renewable energy. And the most popular is the solar energy. We're a blessed country when it comes to solar. The kind of sunlight available in Nigeria alone, we don't have excuse not to leverage on this advantage and natural endowment to make solar a major source of our energy. Not just for retail household lightings alone. We need to have utility scale solar generation that can also feed into our national grid, as against having just hydro and thermal generation be fed into our national grid. There's no state in Nigeria that does not enjoy up to 8 hours of sunlight with very effective radiation. You go to Europe, they have 4-5 hours of sunlight. There are some states in the north where you can get 12 hours of sunlight. So what is our excuse? When you talk about wind, both the desert wind across the coastal states in the north, desert wind is effective. We have a pilot in Katsina, a 10 megawatt wind farm that is working effectively. And we can actually leverage on that to replicate to other parts of the country. And talk about coastal wind in the southern part of Nigeria. The 9 coastal states now, the problem we used to have was access. How do you get there? Whether it's onshore or offshore coastal wind. But thank God for President Tinubu. The coastal road from Lagos to Calabar has now enabled good access to these coastal winds. From Lagos State to Ogun State to Ondo to Edo to Delta to Rivers to Akwa Ibom to Bayelsa to Cross River. 9 states, there is no excuse. And we talk about small and medium-sized dams. They are all over. There is a project we called Sustainable Power and Irrigation Program being funded by UNIDO now, $500 million. We now have access. We now have access to all the small dams spread across Nigeria, especially in the Middle Belt. And we have a project that is coming from Badagry down to Sokoto. That's the highway, almost 1,000 kilometers. That's also opening up access to our small and medium dams to enable us to have hydroelectric power, which is also renewable. So from Badagry in Lagos State to Ogun State, to Oyo State, to Kwara, to Niger, to Kebbi, and to Sokoto, what is the excuse? Leverage on these natural endowments. And when you talk about biofuel, there are a lot of waste that will generate in Nigeria. which are not really giving us any productivity today, we can also leverage on that. So the states have lots of options to pick from, either from conventional energy or renewable energy. So there's no excuse. So these markets will continue to stimulate job creation, industrial growth, while offering flexibility to design cost-reflective tariffs with appropriate consumer protection. Cost-reflective tariffs, I'm emphasizing it. That's the commercial pricing of energy. That's the only way to sustain this industry, even though my argument is always that we should not transfer the existing inefficiency that inflate our cost today to customers. So customers have to be protected. We need to look into our operational cost. Make sure we clean out unnecessary costs, inflated costs, and get the actual cost of energy generation, transmission, and distribution. This is when cost-reflective can be accepted to consumers in Nigeria. So we're already seeing this transformation across states such as Enugu and Lagos, where subnational energy strategies are unlocking new opportunities and shaping local development pathways. However, with all these benefits of decentralization and transiting into multi-tier markets, there are a lot of disadvantages or demerits that we have to be conscious of. And we have to be intentional in tackling these issues headlong. Decentralization presents risks that we must manage with foresight. Number one, they include market fragmentation. Of course, it is nascent in our climate. There will be fragmentation, is expected. It presents high costs of running new regulatory institutions. Before now, we only had Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission that was regulating electricity across Nigeria. We're going to be having 36 state regulators. We're going to be having a regulator for the FCT. It involves cost. And it can also lead to uneven development among the states. I'm actually indifferent to this. But it was our idea of ensuring that, states are developing evenly that took us to where we are today. Let each state run as an independent territory on their own. And let us learn from each other. Lagos State cannot develop at the same pace as another state elsewhere. There are some natural endowments that will actually facilitate a faster growth in Lagos State. But those states should learn from Lagos State what they are doing right. That is healthy competition, and it will foster total development of everybody. Liquidity issues inherited from the national markets. We know there are liquidity issues here, which came from lack of appropriate pricing, expectation from government subsidy that are not being paid. So they are legacy issues that are being carried into the multi-tier electricity markets. Potential tariff adjustments. Yes, almost all the states are focusing on pricing appropriately the energy. And that will ensure that we manage our consumption. That's what happens in advanced countries. Everybody is conscious of the cost of energy because they pay their utility bills every month. So they know the amount of energy they use in a month. They have meters to regulate it, and they're ready, willing, and voluntarily ready to make payments on these utilities. That's the way we can actually control liquidity issues in the market. And political interference, of course. Now you have 36 state governors, a minister of state for FCT, minister of FCT, that will now be making decisions. Unlike when we used to have only the federal government, the minister of power at the federal level, now we have 36 state commissioners, 36 regulators. There is no way, we just have to be truthful. There will be political interference, some positive, some negative. What we need is the consciousness of this and intentionally managing the risk. Then lastly is the risk to grid stability if embedded generation is not properly coordinated. When we coordinate generation from the thermal and the hydro today, it is easier for TCN to manage. It is easier for the Nigeria independent system operators to manage. When we now have embedded generation from the state being fed onto the grid, we're now introducing renewable energy being fed onto the grid. It has to be technically managed as not to present a disadvantage to us. they must be properly coordinated. Then these realities, as many as they are, I want to emphasize that they do not undermine the reform in any way. All we need to do is they merely underscore the importance of proactive planning, strong institutions, and structured coordination between the federal and the state actors. They can be strategically and tactically handled. But we must be aware of these potential demerits of transiting to a new system. So we have to be aware and conscious of these fallouts, and we must be intentional in addressing them both strategically and tactically. So I've stated the benefits of transiting to multi-tier markets. I've stated the likely demerits of this transition. Let's look at the evolving landscape of electricity in Nigeria. There are peculiar challenges that it also faces, which the state actors must be aware of. At the federal level, we are very much conscious of this. But at the state level, we must call their attention to it. Number one is the regulatory overlap between the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission and the state commissions. We have seen a lot of controversies, even between Enugu that just started and the federal regulator. I had to intervene to make sure that we resolve these issues. There will be controversy, there will be overlaps, but they must be managed. We need to handhold the new commissions coming up in the states because they are new. NEC has learned from experience, and they can also transfer the learning to these states. Number two is the weak transmission and distribution infrastructure. That is the fact. Our infrastructures over time, over 60 years, the transmission infrastructure, that's the H. Maintenance has been very low. We have not been replacing. The equipment are dilapidated. We are just changing transformers now. The voltage and the transmission lines are also weak. We need to do a lot of reconductoring of all these lines. And they run into thousands of kilometers. They cost money, both at the transmission level and at the distribution level. Then we have the disco indebtedness. The discos, Rekia is air. We know your balance sheet. Yes, your balance sheet cannot attract any bank as it is today. Their capital is negative if you have to recognize all the liabilities on these discos. So we need to clean up the balance sheet to make it bankable. And you cannot provide all the capital required for investment to reduce your losses, both your ATC and C losses and your transmission loss factors, which is currently high. The average aggregate technical, commercial, and collection losses today for discos is about 40%. Yes. I just look at the data even yesterday when I had a meeting with, you are here, JICA. Our JICA advisor is here. Yes. ECO is trying relatively compared to others. Ikeja is also trying, but we still have a number of discos whose ATC and C losses have worsened from 2013 to 2025. When ordinarily they should be reducing these losses through additional investment and improvement in infrastructure. But they have not done it because the monies or the fund that even used to acquire these discos were all borrowed. They were borrowed, and they are all desperate to return and repay this to the banks. So if you cannot even repay the acquisition fund, what about the investment fund that you promised us? None of them has invested. Since they took over the discos in 2013, where do you expect the improvement to come from? Power is about investment in infrastructure. If you fail to do it, what you get is like when you pay peanuts as salaries, you get what for? You get monkeys. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't invest in the sector, you cannot get the best of this sector. I know India as it is today, as reliable as their infrastructures are, they are still invested in billions of dollars. South Korea as it is today with 130,000 megawatts. For how many people? They're still investing. China is still investing. Singapore is investing. Malaysia is investing. The entire of Europe is investing. We know what happened in Spain the other time, when their transmission lines broke down and all that. They are still investing. So Nigeria cannot afford not to invest, which is why I talked about looking at the minimum capital for discos. It has to be legislated. When you leave things for, but This government is decisive. They have the will, the courage, the boldness to transform Nigeria. We know that there will be initial pains, which we're all experiencing. But I believe that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can not be craving omelette without being ready to break the egg. We are at the point of breaking the egg. By the time we pass through this initial hardship, I believe we are going to enjoy it for the better. So, the disco intelligence is what I just talked about, the limited state-level technical capacity, which is key. I'm an advocate of developing capacity. Even when I was in PwC, at the time I was heading training. Because succession is good. We must plan for tomorrow. And the failure of our people to plan for tomorrow in the past years is what we are passing through today. If we repeat the same mistake, the generations coming will experience what we are experiencing. We must develop the sector. The sector is suffering from dearth of technical capacity. At NAC, we know what it takes to attract the right personnel to man the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. We have the best of the power sector administrators in NEC today, but we pay them above markets. Now, we want to replicate NAC in 36 states. Where is the capacity? Who are the people that will man these regulators, the commissions? Where are they? So we have to be conscious of the lack of technical capacity to man the commissions at the state level, contract negotiation complexities, and grid instability. Thank God we are handling that. So these challenges reflect the transitional nature of our current system, which we are fully aware of. And these demand solutions rooted in partnership, cooperation, and collaboration among all stakeholders. No one segment can do it alone. We must collaborate. We must cooperate, and we must partner to take this sector to the next level. So to address some of these issues, the Federal Ministry of Power, all the challenges I mentioned, we are encouraging a coordinated engagement between the national and the subnational regulators. They must be handheld. They must be nurtured. And they must ensure that they get to a level that they can start on the 11 kV lines. So we must be properly coordinated. So we must also support states to attract investment opportunities. Private sector investors are ready to go to the states, support them with funds, and then build a reliable sector in their states. We must build Capital Power Training Institutes of Nigeria. The last set of engineers trained in this industry, in this sector, was trained by NEPA. The DISCOs, I'm not impressed with your training trajectory. I keep saying it. You are not training, you are just making profit, you are just making money. We must train people for this sector. We are about even calling back some of the retired electrical engineers from PwC today to support our transmission infrastructure. Should it be like that? We have just commissioned a program with NAPTIN, that's National Power Training Institute, to ensure that at least we train additional 100 engineers every year, specifically for the power sector after their university education. I will continue this for 10 years. We'll have about 1,200 engineers to do this. I told you, those are even the high-level skill. When you're talking about the technical skill, we brought in almost 600,000 meters a few months back, about 3-4 months ago. Today, we have now installed 200,000 of these 600,000 meters. Where are the installers? We don't even have installers. So between NAPTIN and NEMSA, Nigeria Electricity Management Service Agency, train installers. Rekia, you will understand what I'm talking about. We are saying we have teeming population of youth without jobs. There are jobs to be done, but are they skilled up to engage in these jobs? Longevity for sustainability. And I'm also talking about market-based tariffs that balance investment and affordability. You get your return on investment, and customers are able to also pay. Improving metering and revenue collection through the Presidential Metering Initiative. Yes, this is a key one, which I want to talk about before rounding up. One of the major issues in this industry is the meter gap that we have. Almost half of consumers today are billed on estimated basis. Is this what we are carrying to the multi-tier markets? When people cannot determine how much they incur in energy? Of 30 million customers we have in the sector, just a little, about 6 million, is metered. Almost 7 million customers. And estimated billing is unfair, is unjust, is not transparent. People are not satisfied with it. So to pay is a problem for them. But we are conscious of this, and there is a presidential metering initiative by Mr. President that has set aside 700 billion naira to procure 10 million meters over the next 5 years, at an average of 2 million meters per year. This should solve our problem. And World Bank is also supporting us with the Distress Sector Recovery Program of $500 million, whereby 3.45 million meters will also be procured, in addition to installing applications for meter data management system to achieve a remote tracking and monitoring of these meters. This will enable collections and improve liquidity in the market. Today, collection level is very low and it's affecting liquidity in the market. So we're also expanding public-private partnership and establishing federal state coordination mechanism to harmonize planning. So these interventions are already showing results. I must not fail in listing a few of the results that we have been seeing since we came into the industry. Under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership, we have recorded major milestones. Notable among these are the decentralization and liberalization of the sector, which has resulted in the activation of 15 electricity markets, state electricity markets, which was made possible with the EA 2023, which is signed into law. We have developed a national integrated electricity policy after 24 years. It's unbelievable. Over 2 decades in this country, there is no integrated comprehensive policy that guides the activities of the power sector. A will-be investor will come into the country lost, not knowing what are the functions, expectations, limitations, and how it can play. Today, we have successfully done that. We now have an integrated percent in year 2024 and reduced government subsidy liability by 700 billion. I can tell you, we started the journey to transit into commercial pricing, which is why we introduced what is called Band A, which only applies to 15% of consumers. Today, they have reliable supply between 20 and 24 hours. It may not be 100%, at least we are sure of about 90 to 95% achievement. It was resisted at the initial stage, but we've seen that's a better way to go. It has replaced our diesel cost, our petrol cost, generator cost, and the maintenance cost, and it's working well. What we are trying to do is to migrate more customers as soon as we are improving their infrastructure. And in 2023, 1 trillion naira was made for the formal sector in this power sector. The disco revenue was 1 trillion. Rekia, I mean, you're a witness to this. And in 1 year, we grew this from 1 trillion to 1.7 trillion, 70% growth in 1 year. And with the trajectory of the last 3 quarters in this year, by end of December this year, we are looking at about 2.3 trillion. That is doubling sector revenue because of our intentional policy reforms. And this is no additional burden on the pocket of our people. I must emphasize this. It's just a reallocation of fund. But in 2023, when they made 1 trillion naira for the formal sector, the study we carried out showed that 15 trillion naira was spent on diesel, on petrol, on generator, and maintenance. So what we did was just to reallocate a little from that diesel expenses into the formal sector. And I believe that if you can raise the revenue in this sector to 5 trillion, sincerely, we're going to achieve almost 70 to 80% reliability of services in this power sector. That's what happens in the UK, in the US, and elsewhere in Europe. So the first ever successful synchronization of the Nigeria power grid with the wider West Africa grid, which is a remarkable milestone for West Africa. The West African power pool, achieving synchronization across all 14 member countries for over 4 hours, marks a major step towards a full integrated regional electricity market. This is very important. Nigeria is half of West Africa's sub-region. We are not on the same frequency and voltage. And we have been trying to achieve a synchronization of the frequency for the 15 countries in West Africa to allow for easy flow of cross-border energy trade. In 2007, they tried this. After 7 minutes, the grid collapsed. Since then, they've never tried it. But fortunately, we tried it 2 weeks ago. And the first test was successful. For full 4 hours, we synchronized our transmission grid to the rest of 14 countries in West Africa. And it was smooth, seamless, And nothing happened. This is the first test. This is very important for us because it's going to allow us to even improve our generation activities and supply energy to other parts of West Africa, which is a source of foreign currency for the country. Without building new transmission lines, we can use existing infrastructure and sell our energy generated in Niger Delta, generated in Middle Belt, and sell to Ghana, sell to Togo, sell to Benin Republic, and Niger. So it's a good thing. The next test is coming up in a couple of weeks' time that will last for 4 days. Once we're able to achieve that, there will be a permanent synchronization, and the entire West Africa will become a single region. And this is towards achieving Africa continental integration, integrating the West Africa with Central Africa and Southern Africa. But we must achieve regional integration first. And Nigeria is so blessed that we are the middle of both the Central and the West Africa, as we are the most eastern country in West Africa. The advantage is quite huge and enormous, but we will not appreciate it until we start reaping this advantage. So the increase in the country's installed capacity for energy generation from 13 gigawatts in 2023 to 14 gigawatts, and the attainment of an all-time generation peak ever in Nigeria, 5,801.44 megawatts that we achieved for this country, and the maximum daily energy record of 128,370.75 megawatt hour achieved on March 4, 2025. We have seen that even the grid collapse is almost fading out. In 2024, we experienced almost 12 instances of collapses. This year, we've only seen one that happened on September 12. Within 2 to 3 hours, we restore the lights back. That shows reliability. That shows improvement in national grid. And that is what this government is known for. So lastly, successful mobilization of 700 billion naira funding from Federal Account Allocation Committee to implement the Presidential Metering Initiative and are tackling the sector's long-standing metering gap. I talked about this. And this is complemented by the World Bank Distress Fund, $500 million, adding 3.45 million meters to the sector. Procurement of these meters have commenced. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in rounding up, Nigeria's transition to a multi-tier electricity market is not optional. It is a necessity. It is the pathway to a reliable, competitive, and economically viable power sector. Today's roundtable exemplifies the type of strategic engagement our country needs. We need to come together. We need to discuss. We must be bold in tackling these issues headlong. We cannot be shying away from our problems. You are welcome, Biodun. Thank you so much. And this, let me once again extend my sincere appreciation to PricewaterhouseCoopers for convening this roundtable. And we need to do more of it, not just once in a year. Our problems are still with us. We must continuously discuss our problems, and we must find practical, workable solutions, not virtual, not idealistic, but realistic solutions to our problems. And this, your thought leadership, must continue for the Nigeria electricity supply industry. I think PwC deserves a round of applause for bringing us together and discussing these issues. These are real issues. So PwC has remained a trusted partner to government. I remember my first experience in government was my secondment to Central Bank of Nigeria in 2007 under Project Eagles. I was the lead of the finance team then. I mean, a young man, spent 2 years there, studied this. And later, I was to have it, I ended up finding myself as deputy governor of this same central bank. It was PwC that actually shaped my career till today. So you have remained a partner to government and industry alike in providing research, advisory support, capacity building, and policy insights that have shaped reforms across the power sector value chain. I started as a young accountant, audit trainee in PricewaterhouseCoopers. But my experience has traversed a lot of other sectors, including government. And the training, the tutelage you receive in PwC make you adaptable to any sector you find yourself. Before I was appointed the Minister of Power, to even switch off lights was a problem for me. When they are changing anything meter, I would just stay almost 100-meter distance. Anything electricity, I don't like it. But this is a real national problem that we must solve. You understand? Today, it is my passion. And I'm happy I'm contributing my own quota to national development as an accountant in power. So it has shaped reforms across the value chain. As an alumnus of this great institution, I'm especially proud of the impact PwC continues to make in our national development journey. Your commitment to fostering dialogue, strengthening institutions, and supporting the evolution of a modern, competitive legislative market is deeply appreciated. As the Minister of Power, I encourage you to sustain this vital role as we work together to build the power sector Nigeria actually deserves. As we engage in conversations today, I urge us to think boldly. Let us challenge the status quo. Let us challenge all assumptions and generate solutions that will help build a decentralized but well-coordinated, competitive, and inclusive electricity sector. This roundtable provides an opportunity to examine key issues such as clarifying federal-state regulatory boundaries, strengthening transmission and distribution networks, and shaping practical state power master plans. Each state must have a master plan because failing to plan is planning to fail. A master plan is a necessity. We should also deliberate on how to build technical capacity, regulatory capacity at the sub-national level to balance market-based tariffs with consumer protection without transferring inefficiency in our cost system onto the consumers. Improving metering and collections, unlock investment through public-private partnerships, and establish effective federal-state coordination mechanisms to maintain our grid stability. By engaging thoughtfully on all these questions I've stated, we can shape a more resilient, future-ready electricity system for Nigeria. So I want to thank you for listening. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause one more time for our very own Honorable Minister of Power. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. You may please be seated. One common theme between the Honorable Minister and Sam's speech is that a multi-tier regulatory market should not restore to a multi-conflict electricity market. And Minister also rightly said that we should not seek for superiority, but to collaborate with each other to serve the market. A round of applause for him once again. And I like the challenge he has put forth that at the end of today, he wants to see a clear action plan as to how all parties in the market will work together across federal and state levels. While the minister was speaking, one of our distinguished speakers, who is a state actor or an actor in the state market, Mr. Biodun Ogunleye, Honorable Commissioner, Lagos State Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, came in. A round of applause for him. Thank you, Mr. Biodun, and it's a pleasure to have you in our midst. Thank you once again, Honorable Minister. Our next speaker is a visionary Managing Director of the Rural Electrification Agency and of Nigeria, which is a driving force behind Nigeria's critical mission to illuminate its rural and underserved communities. His extensive two-decade career in energy policy provides a robust foundation for spearheading ambition projects aimed at significantly expanding electricity access across the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, to speak for 15 minutes on renewables and meeting the role of renewables in meeting Nigeria's electrification targets. Please join me welcome Dr. Abba Aliyu, MD, Rural Electrification Agency. Please a round of applause for him one more time.
My boss, the Honorable Minister of Power, my brother, Honorable Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen. Senior partner, my brother Pedro Banjo, I deliberately ignored you. because I have an issue with PwC. And the issue is very simple. When the Minister of Power was appointed, you should have been a friend to me and send me a memo and tell me 3 things. The first, you should have quickly tell me that he's a first-class student. Secondly, is to also warn me that he has his eyes on the numbers. So when you go with your memo, trying to bamboozle him, thinking that, oh, this accountant, he may not know what electrons is all about. So you do the talking, then if you finish, then you say, what's the commercial framework? Then you start dabbering. Lastly, also, the memo should have told us that he's a very quick learner. I think, honestly, since the time of the guy that has Geometrics, when he was the Minister of Power, I was very close to Ibatinaji. To date, I've worked with almost all the ministers of power, and I honestly said it on record, there is never a minister of power that came and understood the sector in a very short period of time like the Honorable Minister. And this was something that was also said by the World Bank team. So for us, a bloody rural managing director, you know that it means that we have to offer our game to meet up with the requirement. So my presentation is, PwC also gave me the presentation, what to present on. And they chose it in such a way that they want to put me in a corner. So I should talk about the factors that are hindering scaling up renewable generation, renewable investment in the country. And my presentation now take a contextual view of where we are when it comes to renewable generation. Then take a step further to anticipate what the future is going to look like in terms of the generation. Then comes down to the country, what are the opportunities, then what are the factors that are hindering the scaling up of the renewable generation, then what are the solutions and what we are doing. This is exactly how the presentation is going to be. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. You see, rural. So the first, it's just giving us a contextual framework of where we are when it comes to electricity access in the world. There are, as at 2015, there are about 957.5 million people without electricity access. But that number drastically reduced to 685 by 2022. However, one of the things that it's missing is that in as much as the number keeps reducing from 900 million to 600 million, in 2022, there was an increase of 20 million people without the access. So that number increased by 20 million as at 2022. And if it keeps going down, the number would have been around 660. This, a little increase in 2022 was, despite the fact that there's an increase in the renewable energy share in terms of electrifying people from 16.7 to 18.1%, 18.7%, and at the same time also investment in the developing nation in terms of renewable energy has also increased from 12.3 to 15.4%. We also have seen the increase of the watt per capita in terms of the renewable energy contribution from 250 watt per capita as at 2015 to 424 watt per capita in 2022. Now, this is something that I also presented just to show the generation capacity for the different countries with just 3 countries, Nigeria, South Africa, and Bangladesh. I don't know why I picked Bangladesh, but I picked South Africa just for some comparison. We increased our electricity access that was less than 50% increased to 61.2, which we envisage in the next 2 years, this figure will reach about 75%, and I will tell you why. But clearly what I want to highlight on this slide is key drivers now that are promoting electricity consumption. If you're listening to Minister's presentation carefully, you will hear that he mentioned that now health, education, agriculture, nothing can be done without electricity. And I would like to pick on, for example, driver number 4 and driver number 7. To also give PwC free consultancy service. The fact that how electricity is changing everything, electricity of everything, including even consultancy, electricity would be the greatest challenge for PwC in future. We have seen the likes of ChatGPT, DeepSeek, how AI is continuously changing the way things are being done. But what we don't know is that the AI, the driver of the AI is electricity. If you, for example, pick, which most of us here have done, ask ChatGPT, for example, a simple question, who is the Honorable Minister of Power? In 2-3 seconds, ChatGPT will give you that answer. But what you don't know is that at the back of the ChatGPT, the about 0.34 to 0.67 watt of electricity was used to generate that answer. So the way electricity now is driving things, it's becoming so critical. And I also give you some example here, very close. A health center, area 25 in Kenya, how now AI is driving precision in terms of health diagnosis. This is a partnership with Texas school, I can't remember the name of the school, but I wrote it there, was Texas Children's Hospital and the Area 25 Hospital in Malawi. Now, what that does is using AI even at a primary health center to enhance precision of diagnosis without very much involving human thinking. And I also give you the example of what happens in Kenya, how AI is also changing the way agriculture is, and with a very clear way of outcome. Someone that started using AI, the AI telling this thing, giving it precision in terms of the kind of seeds to use, the quantity of seed, at what time should the seed be used, you can easily see change of output in that agricultural produce. But still, what we don't know is at the back of that precision health and agricultural diagnosis is tons of electricity powering this thinking, powering the deep thinking, and providing the simple logic answers to the primary health center and the farmer to do their farming. And I still pick what the Honorable Minister said in his presentation. And at some point I was watching a TV, one of the government critics who mentioned the Honorable Minister and was saying that we are making investment in the power sector. And I sincerely have never wished to have a debate with anybody than that particular person. To tell him how, I'm sorry to use that, how stupid he is, not knowing how much investment is even required to be done into the sector for us to be able to even take ourselves to where we should be. And I give you the example. Currently, because of those drivers that I have shown you, you can see that the current generation capacity of US is about 1,330 gigawatts. By 2050, US is expected to increase the generation to 4.5 petawatt. I've never known what petawatt is all about. Somebody has to translate it to me to tell me that 1 petawatt is 1 million megawatt of electricity. We have the energy transition plan that has provided $410 billion requirement for us to move to achieve the energy transition. This is what is required for us to do that. This is what is required for us to do that. Then if you check the Rocky Mountain Institute and GF report, you will see that they have identified a quick win of 20 gigawatt of renewable energy investment in the country that can easily be achieved. We also have seen that we are now one of the biggest nuances around these communities. And what is the least cost of going to these communities and providing them with this electricity? So we commissioned a consultancy with McKinsey with the support of World Bank. This map that you are seeing is a map with layers and layers and layers of data. What you are seeing, these colors, is a $1 million coloring. Where you see green, these are real communities that exist in the country. And where the least cost of providing these communities with electricity is by using solar home systems. And where you see red are real communities that exist in this country that the best means of providing them with electricity is by using mini grids, be it interconnected or isolated. And where you are seeing yellow, most in the southern part of the country, these are also real communities that exist not more than 5 kilometers from where the grid ends, that best be served by providing them by extending the grid. If we have access, once the Honorable Minister approves the NESI plan and we give access to everybody, is going to be an open source, you will be able to expand it, see down to the communities. Not only seeing the community, you will know the number of households in the community. You will know the nature of the work that the community do. You will even know what are the social issues around the community, whether there is any security challenge within the community and stuff like that. This is also an AI-based work that we have done. So we also identify that there are 22 million households that should be powered. This will show you the community from Lagos that has over 2-point-something million houses to the community that has two houses, and how best you can power those communities. So we did that. We did the breakdown, 22 million houses. 99.9 million of them should best be served with solar home system. 5.3 million should best be served by grid connection, and 6.8 million best be served by interconnected or isolated mini grids. This data is there and will be start. So now to the main work that Banjo asked me to do. Why, despite this challenge, despite the futuristic that we are seeing in terms of the need for more electricity in the future, what is hindering large-scale renewable investment or infrastructure in the country? And I start by the main issue. In my mind, based on what I have seen, is limited access to project development financing is one key challenge. To date, there is no financier that I know that provides financing for project development. All the financiers, funders are risk averse, saying that find how you would do your project development, finish it. If I see it and I see the viability, I can now invest my debt into it. That's a huge challenge. And that is why to date, you cannot have a ready-made, bankable, renewable, large-scale project. Because to arrive at that, you need to spend a lot of money. We have seen the case of those that have spent money that wanted to do the grid-connected renewable, the 14 IPPs. Pedro, you know this very well when we were working with Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC. They spent money, and at the end of the day, the project could not take up. They could not reach bankability. So that lack of viable financing for project development, to me, in my mind, is one of the key challenges that is there. Then the second aspect of it is also what the minister said, and that is what also affected the discourse. All what we have is debt financing. So all the risk costs that we have, they have access to debt financing after also going through a lot to convince so many banks. I think Shagaya is there. Apart from Starling Banks, Stanbic IBC, FCMB, we have not seen other banks critically active in financing even the renewable energy due to lack of understanding of the infrastructure and understanding how it is. Then there's also the question around inadequate cholesterolization. I created this word. I don't know whether it's a true English or not. So, cholesterolization of anchor loads, right? Renewable energy requires, for example, like industrial cluster, agricultural cluster, cottage cluster. So there's that very quite challenge to have them in a structured format across the country. They are sparsely depopulated. And if you are to put the distribution network and build this generation plant and build distribution network to connect them, it increases the cost of the production and by extension increase the tariff, and that may not make it viable. Honorable Minister, last 2 weeks we were at in a place in Plateau State, in a community, in a local government called Kwampam, 4 hours from the airport, in a community called Namu community. What we have seen in that community, Honorable Minister, was amazing. It is a rice production community. Local. There are 22, we counted 22 local rice processing factories in a same place in that Namu. Most of them run by women. However, we noticed that only about 4 or 5 of those plants are operating, because most of those rice processing, they use diesel to process the rice. Now, using the diesel to process the rice and taking the rice to the community, to the market, their price tends not to be competitive. Their price tends to be much more than the market price. So they are out of business. So under one of the programs you approved, the Africa Mini Grid program, we took one mini grid of 50 kilowatt as a test. Honorable Minister, the factory that we are powering now is competitive and is working. And this is something that each one of you should please check our Twitter handle to see the actual picture. And His Excellency, the Governor of the State, Honorable Minister, told me a story. While we were coming out from the commissioning, there were trucks lined, about 10 of them with cassava, harvested cassava, to be taken from the Namu community to some other states. So he told me that a tuber of cassava in Namu sells 50, 100 naira. It's like it doesn't have value because they have it in abundance. So, but they sell it within that market price of 100, 150. So it goes out more especially in this world around Ogun, Shagamu axis. So there's one clever banjo that has established a cassava processing plant within that. So they take one tuber of cassava that they bought 50 naira in Namu, process it, package it. In one cassava, you can have 5 cassava chips, spicy cassava chip package. And they will now bring it back to Namu to buy at 350 per one. Not one value addition done by the community. And that is why with this clusterization and providing electricity, they will be have the ability to add, even if it is slicing, drying of the cassava, to add more value from 50 naira to 100 naira to create more job opportunities. So that lack of clusterization is an anchor loads. It's a challenge also that is there. Investment constraint there, long-term, no long-term investment. All the debt finance is short-term. Somebody from Stanbic IBC is here. He knows that. And very high interest rate. Grid and infrastructure limitation. One of the challenge why the 14 IPPs could not get viability is also because of the fact that they will connect to the grid and automatically means that the discount payment will be like 45, 50, 60%. Then supply chain and localization limitation. Almost all the equipment that we use in renewable energy, we import them, and there is that challenge of the import. Then the social and demand load barriers. Demand load, we want to, is now that we are doing more productive use. So at times you go to the communities and the consumption level is very high. So you need to stimulate the demand for the project to be viable. Then there's still some social considerations. Up to now, some people are not seeing renewable energy, specifically solar, as a viable alternative from providing electricity. How? What needs to be done to change the narratives? For us, first is repositioning renewable energy, seeing it as an infrastructure project that it is. Not to see it as just an intervention or as a service base. Renewable energy is an infrastructure project, and it should be seen as that. It should be structured as that. Pension fund as patient capital needs to be unlocked to start to bridge that gap of long-term equity or long-term financing. It must be done. Adaptive and responsive regulation, this is very key. The Honorable Minister knows that if I have one issue with the regulator, is the way, to me, they are treating the renewable energy. Up to now, the mini-grid regulation cap of a mini-grid in Nigeria is 1 megawatt. And I want to go quickly here before going back to my slide to show you, if we really want to bridge, we need to see what other countries are doing when it comes to mini-grid regulation. And look at Liberia. Total electricity access is 14.9, very low. We know that. But their total population is 31.8%. But because they are serious in driving that, their mini-grid regulation is 10 megawatt. We have seen South Africa that are now trying to integrate large scale into the thing. Their mini-grid regulation is up to 100 megawatt. The same with Sierra Leone, up to 1 megawatt to 10 megawatt, from 1 to 10. But ours is still at 1 megawatt. So we need to have an adaptive, responsive regulation that mirrors the situation at hand. That regulation must be changed. We have been pushing the regulator with the support of the Honorable Minister, and we hope that they will change that. And when it comes to, for example, we're doing massive interconnected mini-grid, we had to seek for special approval from the regulator. And one of the things they keep arguing against is that we should show them that these capacities exist. And we gave the list that the discourse gave us. Thank you. The discourse were initially very averse to our intervention within their franchise area. But as at now, they have given us 600 sites. 600 viable sites in all this discourse. That is enough to show that those exist. In the NAMU example, Honorable Minister, the total demand within that community should be around between 10 to 15 megawatt to power those rice productive areas. So those areas exist. Bankable project, we need to do more. This is tied to the project development, capacity building. Like the minister said, we need more capacity also in the renewable energy, and manufacturing needs to be done. then utility-enabled DRIs. So what we are doing currently, you can see that despite the challenge and whatever the situation, we are still doing more, close to 624.1 megawatt of renewable energy to be injected. Some had already been injected. Honorable Minister, we have finished the phase 2 of the energizing education, 32 megawatt already now being injected. The phase 3, as at yesterday, Federal University of Technology, Yola, we owned our light in that university. A 5 new capacity that has been injected. So a total of 8 of them, we have done it. The EEP phase 4, Honorable Minister, 68.5 megawatts that we are starting. We are partnering with State Fund. Now government agencies have become responsive. If they have any project to do with renewable energy, they engage us as consultants to support the whole process. I learned how to send invoice now. So it's not only you that is sending invoice. So we do that, 32 megawatt. The National Public Sector Solarization Initiative, the 100 billion Minister of Power provided to us, we inject 39.1. Interconnected mini grid, this is a grant that we got, already had injected 2.6 megawatt. This is the interconnected mini grid that I told you about, with 7 distribution companies that we have now started out to inject 188.4 megawatts of electricity in 7 distribution companies. And the remaining 3, we started another one with under the AFDB to inject 25 megawatt. We have sent a concept note, that is why it's in red. This is something that Minister has to see to give us how to provide catalytic funding to make the 14 solar IPPs that were not bankable, to change them. So we redesigned the whole concept using the commercial framework for us to do that, and we have submitted it to Honorable Minister, reduced from 1,050 megawatt to 200, using catalytic funding to remove the need for PIG, put call option agreement, and partial risk guarantee, to replace it with catalytic funding to make it reliable. If we achieve all this, 624.1 megawatts of clean, reliable electricity can be injected. So our thing is that it's doable and it can be done. And thirdly, closing, one of the things that we said that it's you always go to the Honorable Minister with commercial framework for anything that's been done. So for our sustainability of our project, he approved the creation of the Renewable Energy Asset Management Company. And I presented this because the private sector needs to see this. So all those assets of energizing education that we have done, we have sent the request. Once the HM approve, we are going to novate those assets into the balance sheet of this RAMCO. So the RAMCO will be created with a balance sheet of those close to $200 to $300 million. And we are not now going to wait and just look at our assets just providing services. Those assets must be used, collateralized, to create more private sector funding. We are here will soon go to the capital market to raise 500 billion naira using the RAMCO, using the asset for us to have funding to continue to do the work that we are doing. We are waiting for the novation of the asset. And it would also serve as for mergers and acquisition in any event that any RESCO failed to manage an asset that we finance or provide grant, we take over that asset and do that. And thirdly is also the green finance and investment facility that we are now co-hosting. We want to now change that narrative because we can't just sit and say there's no project development financing. What are we doing? So we are changing that. We're discussing with the Bank of Industry to create a project planning, financing, and credit facilities all embedded in one. And this is a discussion that has gone very far as well with that. This sample of all the projects, we like to give the pictures, not rhetoric. These are the projects that we have all developed and key into the sector. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you, PwC, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Abba Aliu, for that renewable energy masterclass. A round of applause for him once again. No. Okay. You know, when the Honorable Minister was speaking and Dr. Abba Aliu was speaking also about how good it is to work in PwC, I said to myself that I need to change my job. So I need to dust up my CV and apply for a position in PwC. So, Mr. Regional Senior Partner, please expect my application soon. My reapplication. Okay, please, we'll take our next speaker, who is a respected leader and currently serves as the Honorable Commissioner at the Lagos State Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, with over 3 decades of experience, including as CEO of PowerCap Limited. Is renowned for driving sustainable energy sector solutions across Nigeria. For the sake of time, I will not be able to read his CV before me as a textbook. So please just help me welcome Honorable Commissioner. He will be taking us on a very short address on the evolving regulatory framework, the role and the interplay of the National Regulatory Commission and the state regulatory commissions. Honorable Commissioner, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, when Dio said, Minister will be there, I said to myself, I don't want to play with my job again. Well, for those who know, you know, after PwC, Honorable Minister joined a team of ambitious young men that made a whole lot of difference in the banking space. And I'm proud to say that my very first call to him when I got appointed was to say, I believe in 2-3 years of working, you are the federal, we are the state, will make a lot of impact. And I believe today, Honorable Minister and my most marketable, Mr. Sellable, it's now Dr. Babajide Olushola Adoragwemi Sanwo-Olu. We are doing exciting things in this space. And I must say thank you all for having me. PwC, thank you for having me. But permit me to throw one or two lines at Pedro. Honorable Minister, please help me tell these guys that in our days of little beginning, they should not just use small highs to commonize us. Because we may not look like those who can pay the bills at some point, but surely one day, we will be able to say, bring on the bills. So some people will not have sweat with us, and we now want one of the big four, the big one, to come and harvest the product. It's going to be a difficult call. So I just need to leave that. My brother Abba, thank you very much for the great things you have done. And I saw the table you displayed out there. Honorable Minister, without mincing serious words, I think it's time we closely consider whether you should actually be Rural Electrification Agency or Renewable Electrification Agency. Sir, we need to make that change, maybe as a Christmas gift to the sector. Whatever it will take to get that thing done, I think we should just focus on that process. Instead of focusing on changing the law, let's focus on this one. Thank you very much. The leadership of PwC, I'm so excited to be here. I don't take these opportunities for granted. We can't take on all the invitations, but we bless God when we see genuine focus and we see real issues to come and make our own small contribution. And I see a lot of a lot of people who are supporting us in the Lagos market also in the audience. Odion is here. He's not only consulting for NGF, he's my personal consultant. I see a lot of my friends out here too. So everyone here is distinguished. And I'm happy that we are this conversation, roundtable, so that we can help shape the relationship between NEC and the State Electricity Regulatory Agency. Am I expected to pull the slide myself? Oh, okay. So today we'll basically look at the interplay between NEC and the State Electricity Regulatory Agency. And I want to strongly believe that by now all of us have settled, and those who are not yet convinced that there's a need for us to go this route, I'm still pleading. I mean, I want to say, give us 3 years. After 3 years, if we have not impacted at a speed and whatever that we are proud of, bring up all the changes we want to be done to the bill. But for now, give us 3 years. Let this multi-tier regulatory structure, no matter how complex, no matter how challenging it is at this beginning, let's allow it to run. Let's allow it to scale. Let the nation have an opportunity of another approach to resolving the culture of darkness that seems to be, they will say is about vested interest and all that. But I want to tell you, you cannot be doing the same thing the same way for several years and not want to change. Let me also quickly appeal that, okay, let me be a little bit theoretical because I'm in the midst of consultants. Cities grow according to the theory of growth of cities in 3 basic ways. And the most effective one is multi-sector, multi-nuclear cities. Once you have airport in this direction, a university in that direction, a major center in that direction, and all those centers are growing. Before you know it, they become a big space and you have a mega city in your hand. So just that explanation alone should be able to convince some of us that maybe we should allow this to be. The last one I want to say is that either we like it or not, the devil is always in the details. I have said it to operators in Lagos that whatever you see as profit today, if you allow us to work together, within 3-4 years, legitimate profit, so I'm not talking about overbilling and all those whatever. I'm saying proper legitimate profit, and you also compare to the stress that you have to go through. This is the way to go. And I don't know whether I will get an applause for that or not, but please be encouraged. Don't let your heart be troubled. We're on the right path. Thank you very much. So, what are we seeing in the sector today? And I want everyone to understand this. Decentralization is ongoing, and we already have like 12 states that have their laws and bills drafted and have collected the necessary documentation from NEC and are already running. And today, there's a massive gap in the investment required for us to have reasonable level of supplies in our homes, in our offices, in our industries. There is a massive gap, and we should not lie to ourselves. And what is the quickest way to address that? While we are getting ready, Mr. Governor sent me to the World Bank with a list of simple questions. And at the end of the day, those guys look at me closely and say, you know, Lagos is smart to bring this delegation to us, but you know what? We can't deal with subnationals. And that was a major blow. But you know what? They didn't allow me to go back home without hope. They informed me that, you know what? We already have some windows for Nigeria. We need to go back and look at how we can make those windows work for the subnationals. And can I use my church sense? Please let me put your hands together for the Honorable Minister. With Jesus' joy in my heart, I can announce to you that DLI 9 has been battered, and it has $750 million as of PSRO. Okay, Honorable Minister know the meaning of all those terms. But the bottom line is that states now have at least a World Bank window to do business. Now, our own model before was get out of loans. Let's get private sector funding. But hey, if the World Bank window is there, and we have private sector people that truly have money to come in, and we'll say, okay, for this and this and this, who will borrow more? We'll take money from World Bank. Let's see your own money. Come and run the facility. It will be a lot more. We can share the risk, and it will be a lot more whatever for us. So the federal government, thank you very much for helping us to conquer that particular one. Now, Lagos alone, we require over 6,000 megawatts. Yes, I know my disco people will say, would they pay? Leave me with that problem. Honestly, make people productive first. Meter them appropriately and police your meter. I strongly believe in that one. We need to be very practical. We need to make our people more productive. And once we're able to do that, we remove constraints on load shedding and all that. We repair a lot of the asset that needs extensive work. I live in VGC. You will expect VGC will have, this is not a whatever, but madam, forgive me. You will expect VGC will have, for the prime area, the people who can pay and all that, we should have this band A should be truly, truly band A. But I can contest the band A in VGC. I will contest it successfully without anybody arguing it. You know, the truth of the matter is that there is a need for personal capital involvement. For somebody that will not go to sleep until solutions are found. For a personal touch to, I'm not saying big management, big structures are not working, but we are now at the state level. I believe the discourse too should respect the law and make sure that they remain where we expect them to be, wires and network operators, and then we allow additional capital to come in downstream so that we can solve problems. Now, it is unavoidable, and I will say all of us should align with this initiative and allow the act and the law to and our own bills to have full course. Now, based on what the two instruments that are guiding us is saying to us, NEC will continue to make the national market rule, and let's be careful. Some people don't want the states to have what they call to have a proper market. Some people just want states to continue collecting net their share of whatever from the federal. If our desire is to continue to have an opaque market where we can continue to have what do we call it, subsidy in a very whatever fashion, and we can be telling ourselves plenty of stories, so let it be. But if the federal government truly desire to hand off this regime where there are challenges with how we got to the figure, whether they were ever audited, and don't let me talk too much. Let it be that the state must operate within their boundaries as markets. And that implies that the state electricity market operator or independent system operator, the state infrastructure, must guarantee whatever it is they are taking from all generators. If federal government chooses to put in money for subsidy in any part of the chain, NEC ordains that subsidy and ensure that the money is available and stories do not get complicated. So the national NEC still has a lot of work to do in case we choose to go particular ways. But the state should control its intra-state electricity market. Grid code, system operation, interstate electricity transactions, licensing of generation and transmission operation across multiple states, and tariff methodologies for national market participants will continue to remain the responsibility of NEC. Now, and their legacy assets and all that, NEC will continue to remain to control that. The other thing I want to, my team says I should not talk about this, but I'm tempted to make sure that we also place it on the record. I won't mention the agency, but being a hands-on operator, I know what happens anytime I need to certify installation that has just been finished. No, I did not. Honorable Minister, it's not me. It's not me. Please, let us permit what a Lagos state is pushing. And that is, these are national standards. These are the boxes we need to tick off at every installation. And then, based on what we need to tick off at all this installation, this has happened, we render report per installation, annual, quarterly, whatever, to NEMSA. NEMSA is free to query anybody to come into the system and do a holistic work. Nothing still stops us from paying some monitoring or whatever fee per installation in the system. But we need to make sure that we continue to stay that. Now, for the state, I've talked about the need for the state to truly control a market, to truly be a market. And now, that takes me to Enugu. Okay, let's get it very clearly. Fortunately for me, and I can say it boldly here, when the transition was happening, and then the first set of tariff methodology, what do we used to call them then? The PACN, the various holding companies, they were first filing in their first set of documents and all that. We had the opportunity of supporting, I think, 4 of those filings. I was flying all over the country between these agencies. Yes, those successful companies. And I can tell you, I know what we did. I know what the filing looks like. I know what the defense process looked like. All right? But you want to know the truth? There's a new marshal in town. He knows the rent of property on the street of Enugu. So if you say you rent a property at 150 million naira for use in Enugu, he knows that there's a comma in front of that one. So all of us must just understand that times are changing. We need to be more responsive. And okay, they've had an hearing, they've had some further whatever. I believe, have they brought out a document? But what's going to happen at the end of the day is that discourse needs to make sure that they have qualified presentation, people that understand what tariff methodology is, and truly, really, those who can discuss it and close. It's not a newspaper thing, it's not a drama thing. It is at the center of your business. Why should you be joking with it? And then we now want to bring the national institutions into it. You bring everybody. We thought it's still lobby, and all that as usual. Well, I bless God for the gentlemen in Enugu. Tough guys. They're able to hold their stand. And I believe there will be loads of lessons as we resolve that situation, and as all of us too, in our own domain, resolve our own too. Now, we are expected to have to regulate the distribution companies, but it's sad that some discos are still not compliant. They have not rendered one return to the State Electricity Regulatory Commission since over 1 year of commencement of the document. And some of us have also commenced. Sorry, you may not like the fact that I'm saying this truth openly, but it is so that when you start hearing fireworks in public later, you say, one guy actually said it too, that there's a need for discos to, in Yoruba language, they say pack well, or arrange themselves well. All right? Now, the state regulatory agency are also expected to be in charge of embedded generation, distributed energy resources, local mini grids, consumer protection, enforcement, technical standard for local infrastructure, and enable energy integration at the state level. Permit me to close that, on that slide, to close that. For us, renewable energy is not, I need to be careful now. It's not, there's even no rural area in Lagos. But there are loads of underserved and unserved areas in Lagos. And as a responsible government, we cannot close our eyes and say these things don't exist. And I know if I take a poll in this room, how many people enjoy 10 hours of supply where they live or whatever cumulatively. Some people are saying I should go ahead and take the poll. I don't want to embarrass anybody. I should not take it. Okay, so the people that say I should not take it, they won. Okay, so where are the possible overlaps? Where are the things that we need to really collaborate about, collaborate on, and where do we need to harmonize things? Because constantly you see people running from the state regulator and trying the federal regulator, and if that one is not also working, they run to the federal minister and see if the local commissioner can help them. I think we should just, all of us should just focus on who has authority to deal with what. Don't send me memos that half of the complaints that come into my own tray from the field are things that should just go straight to the State Electricity Regulatory Commission. And they should be able to respond to it and deal with it. But because I hate to say my big friends are not responding to most of their own whatever yet, of course they will tell me now that they are responding, but we know the fact of the situation. Penalties are not being applied. Effective regulation is not there. So we will see how these things play a few months down the line. So the first thing is licensing transition mechanism. I believe strongly that let's respect geographic boundaries. Electricity is a geographic business. Any story, any amendment we are seeking that relates to that one, let's just let it go. I also believe that in terms of tariff methodology and cost reflectiveness, we need investors to have confidence in what we are doing. There is no doubt. But what our own experience has shown is that most of the people we are calling vulnerable groups, people who cannot pay, the low-income bracket, they may not actually be in that group if we price well. Well, somebody will tell me, we've checked it, the price, it should be, some people even walk into my office and are bold enough to tell me 500 naira per kilowatt hour. I just said, well, I don't know where you are coming from, but you see that my door is wide open. Because I cannot stand before my House of Assembly and announce to them that we have a tariff table that is coming up with about 300 self, not to not talk about 500. What kind of nonsense is this? Well, they have an argument. They'll tell you that the cost of gas in Lagos is different from the national gas to power plant. But I have good news. the federal government is also looking at Lagos. We are the base load, and the federal government is looking at what they can do for us to make sure that they're able to bring the cost of gas down. Now, there's no conflict on these technical standard issues. Not one. All we need to do, for me, is simple and straightforward. There may be one or two items in the technical data sheets or whatever. There may be things that we need, that based on the conditions of Lagos, riverine area, this, that, we need to add to it or something. But over and above that, these standards are what they are. And let our regulators, a unit within that, work with the national agency and establish a framework that ensure that both our grid code, our metering code, and our safety standards we are in full compliance with it. And then consumer protection framework. I believe experience sharing, data exchange, joint effort, and regulation coordination will make for better results here. Immediately our market was announced, NEC closed down their services. Well, I think there should have been a transition, because I don't think we promised readiness on day one. They should have given us a little bit of time. But it is what it is. We're addressing the problem. We're trying to make sure that come January 1st, we have a full-blown structure that can help us deal with these issues and play these roles here. So, using Lagos as a case, what are states, what are we doing, or what can we do in this new area? Permit me to ask if anybody had the opportunity of driving through the night yesterday night. Did you drive in Lagos sometime yesterday night? Did you see a remarkable improvement in our night time? Okay, it's a promise that we made. It's a promise that we make. And I'm assuring you that we are about to encourage you to even stop working during the day. Hello? We will not be the first city that will do that. We are about saying to you that your office can function 24/7. Because if we assure you of your safety and you can see your path home, why should you be bothered about going in 2-3 hours of traffic? So immediately, if 1/3 of corporates agree with us, Lekki-Ekpe Express Road will be free that same month. Just 1/3 of corporates spreading presence in office. So it's not a COVID-enforced whatever, but because you can come in the night, you can come at any time, you can do your team meetings at any part of the city, we believe we'll all be going to be better for it. So, Mr. Governor had extensively, beyond that vision in our agenda, he has signed the law, and then our law aligned with the Federal Act, and we're already laying the foundation for a clean Lagos electricity market. By the grace of God, I'm expecting that we will break ground on the first nitrogen plant in Nigeria shortly. I thought somebody will clap for us. You may not believe us, but when it happens, it will be said that we did it. We will do it. And we have advertised and we have had responses for those who are interested in grid-connected renewable infrastructures, which include the hydrogen plant. And I'm sure that Abba will soon be very jealous when, instead of us talking about mini grids and all that, we are going on scales that are exciting to him. Okay, so we know of a certainty that ourselves and the discourse need to work together, and not just in theory, but in ensuring that our people and this culture of darkness is driven far away. So beyond the various roadmaps that we have, we are confident that working with all the market participants in Lagos, we will get to a point where we are eradicating the culture of darkness in Lagos. So what you are seeing in the Lagos model is, over time, we believe, with the corporation of the discourse, we are going to have embedded assets. We are going to have a lot of franchising model that takes care of various types of challenges in various areas. We believe you have seen our solar street light. Most of our hospitals, in partnership with REA and our own initiatives, are going on solar. Our universities are going on solar. LTV is also on solar. Most of our critical infrastructure are on solar. And let me tell you one good news that I've also heard. You may not like it, but somewhere from the east, a contract has been signed to utilize coal. It has been signed, and it will happen. It will happen. Most of these nations that are saying, don't use coal, they are still using coal. But I've told them, Lagos has the market. Once you are ready, come, we'll sign on some of the capacity. Clap for us now. We'll keep enabling the market. Okay, so in closing, I have 2 more slides to close. I know your legs are itchy, but permit me to close. So, what do we need for this to succeed? What do we need for this to succeed? Let's make sure that whatever disputes we have, national, state, let's resolve them within frameworks that are unambiguous, quickly, and we don't allow investors to start having any hesitation. Let's align both the state's renewable strategies and the national renewable energy strategies. Let's exchange data, and let's strengthen customer outlook in various areas. And when it comes to financing, I'm grateful to what the federal government is doing now on DL9, but we need to look at smaller states that may not have the economy and the credit profile of a Lagos to deal with some of this and also have solutions for them. I'm saying we should just think out of the box in respect of that. So, in closing, the Electricity Act, I believe strongly, is not designed to create a battlefield between the NEC and the State Electricity Regulatory Commission. It's a partnership forum. It's a forum that must deliver what will it deliver? It must deliver an end to the culture of blackouts in this country. I believe the future is already unfolding. I believe each and every one of us have a role to play. PwC, thank you for having us. I'm most grateful. I hope.
Thank you. A round of applause once again for the Honorable Commissioner. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Honorable Commissioner, just to let you know that PwC is very much ready to support you. And I think our last encounter, I must say that Lagos State is one of the states that are approaching very carefully and very strategically the state electricity market matter. Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, once again. A round of applause for him. The only part of your speech I didn't really like was that one of the office running 247. I'm sure some of my colleagues around the room are saying, I hope Sam didn't hear that. So please, it's 8 to 5. Thank you very much. All right, our next speaker is a seasoned power sector executive with over 30 years of experience spanning commercial operations, marketing, revenue recovery, regulatory compliance, strategic leadership. She is currently the CEO of one of the leading discos in Nigeria, a co-electricity distribution company. Please clap for her, where she oversees the company's strategic, technical, commercial, financial, and administrative functions. Her leadership has driven significant achievements including notable reductions in ATC and C losses. I know we all know the meaning of ATC and C. Good. So please, a round of applause for Mrs. Rekiat Momo. Please, industry practitioners, we've had 3 regulators. Let's hear from Mrs. Momo representing the industry. Thank you, ma'am. Can we have Mrs. Momo's slides, please? Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister of Power, the Honorable Commissioner for Energy, Lagos State. My name is Mrs. Rekiat Momo. And I was saying to myself after the minister has spoken that I should just carry my laptop and leave. What else do I want to say? Because to be very honest, he has said it all. So my presentation will just be like a summary of what the minister mentioned. So I'm going to be speaking on Nigeria power sector under stress, the legacy debt, cash flow challenges, and the growing insolvency risk profile of Gencos and Disco, with particular reference to Eco-Disco. So I work for Eco-Disco. I'm the CEO for Eco-Disco. We are into energy distribution. We are located at 2425 Marina. We are one of the 12 privatized companies. We are owned by West Power and Gas. Our vision is to be the leading customer-centric power utility in Africa and the preferred choice of all stakeholders, while our mission is to improve the quality of lives of customers and stakeholders using cutting-edge technology and innovative processes to sustainably, reliably, and safely deliver electricity. Our core values are integrity, safety, empathy, responsiveness, value added, and excellence. We have a customer population base of 789,000. Our short-term goal is commercial excellence and closing the metering gap, while our medium-term goal is customer centricity, that is improvement on technology, and our long-term goal is market sustainability. So I'm sure that some of us have not seen this type of meter before. So I'm trying to go back to where we started from. Just like you heard in my profile, I work with NEPA, I work with PACN, and now I'm with ECO. So it was only ECN that I didn't work with. So the Nigeria power sector, even though that we have been privatized, we still have a lot of issues, especially as regards finance. And like we all know, and I want to say that in the words of the minister, he once said that power is what blood is to the human body. So power is the driver of any economy, whether we believe it or not. So if there's no power, no economy can grow. So for decades, the energy market has been rooted in traditional practices, just like this meter. I remember when I first joined NEPA, this was the type of meters that we were reading on a monthly basis. And we were all doing manual metering. And you will agree with me that that is prone to fraud and to a lot of issues. Then there was also the centralized power generation. I think the minister has spoken much on that. We had just a centralized generation point, which was the grid. Then this legacy system, though in its time, was okay, because the population we have now is not even as much as what we used to have. I understand I have only 10 minutes for this slide, so, sorry. So as we progress, these are some of the limitations that we have experienced. I will be speaking from the DISCO perspective, like I mentioned before. One, the centralized power distribution inadequacies. But we are happy now that we are beginning to be engaging mini grids and embedded generation. In ECO, for instance, we have one that we are trying to do around the NEPA close. Then we have inefficiencies in manual operations. So before now, even when you have a fault in your office, there's no possibility that we will know in our offices. But I would also like to mention at this point that ECO is the only DISCO that has a SCADA, which we are using to monitor some of the faults that we have presently. Even though that we need to upgrade it, because presently we have about 54 injection substations, but we only have 15 presently on SCADA right now. Then the reactive maintenance is only when the fault occurs that we know it. It's after we work after the fact. So now we are looking at a way we can improve on some of the inefficiencies that we presently experience by upgrading our SCADA. Then the downtown too, there's always a downtown because it's only when the customer comes to us to report that there's a fault that we are aware. And by the time we get there, you have to also then manually look for this fault. But to the glory of God, we just bought some fault locators, about 5 of them. One is about 190 million. We just acquired 4 so that we'll be able to reduce the downtime. Then there's lack of real-time data. And like we all know, without data, you can't do anything. So you need to do a lot of analysis, even when it comes to fault clearing and also your collection. Then the financial crisis is there. The Honorable Minister has said a lot about that. Because the profits we make are paper profits. No bank is willing to grant any loan on based on your paper profit that you are making. They want the real cash. Then the general problem again, the elephant in the house, inadequate generation. So what is the present state? Presently, we have installed capacity in terms of generation about 13,000 megawatts. What is the available capacity? Between 4,000 to 5,000 megawatts. What is the average ATC&C company-wise? It's between 34 to 35%, but for ECO, we're at 22%. Then the legacy debt is running into trillion of naira. What is the collection efficiency? 70% on the average. So it means that month on month, we are losing about 30% of the total revenue that we are supposed to generate. What are the major constraints that are impeding DISCO's operational and financial performance? One is energy theft and commercial losses. Energy theft is a big problem. And I want to say that from experience, we have noted that the energy theft is more where the big men live. With due respect to every rich man, yes. And we all know that if a big man or a rich man steals this energy and a poor person, it's not the same thing. And we have seen cases where known hotels, 4-star hotels, bypassing meters, stealing this energy, and thereby increasing the losses of almost every disco. We are even in court recently with one of the hotels that was caught on bypass. And I wouldn't want to mention the name of the hotel here because we are in court. Then what else do we have as a problem? We have obsolete, dilapidated, and overloaded distribution transformers, just like the Honorable Minister mentioned. Energy business is a very difficult business in terms of finances because it takes time for you to start reaping the return on investment. So for anybody that wants to invest in energy business, we think twice because it's not what you plan today and you start reaping immediately. So it takes time for you to start seeing the return on your investment. And therefore, so many people are not even willing to invest into it because nobody wants to tie down his or her capital. What else do we have as a problem? There's also this high cost of rehabilitation. If you go to places like Orile and Ajegule, you will still discover in my network that we still have dilapidated networks, which will increase our technical losses. And we need a lot of money for such rehabilitation, even though that we'll be doing some of them, but we are not yet there. The another major problem is the MDA debt. In ECO, for instance, there's a table that I will show after this slide. MDA alone is owing us a lot of money. And across the DISCOs, most of them are not paying. I happen to be one of the highest with MDAs, knowing that Lagos was the headquarters before they were moved to Abuja. So we have a lot of money that is being owned to us by ministry, departments, and agencies. Then we also have huge uncollectible debts because people tend to move from one house to another, leaving debts that are uncollected. And by the time you want to run that debt, you will observe that a new tenant has already moved in. Then there's also the issue of high interest rates, which no DISCO can afford. And those are some of the things that are adding to our financial crisis. Then also the high monthly collection losses. For instance, in our average collection is 85%. So it means that every month we are losing about 15% of what we have built as uncollected. Then we also have DISCO's insufficient revenue to cover the bulk energy payments and OPEX. Presently, for instance, in ECO, our DRO is 57%. But before now, it was between 43 to 47%. It has just been increased last month. It means that government is still paying subsidy for some of these tariffs. And between you and I, we all know that for how long is government going to keep paying? And we need to get it right from the beginning. And the only way we can get it right is through adequate metering and monitoring. Then the debt servicing burden, just like the Honorable Minister, the acquisition loans, some discos have not been able to pay that. In ECO, for instance, we have completed paying our acquisition loan. Then the tariff is still partially non-cost reflective. In ECO, for instance, we have 780-something thousand customer population, and the only numbers that we have on Band A is about 150 of that customer. So it's not covering up for the less. So our joy will be to move all our customers to Band A. But unfortunately, we have a problem because even the ones we have moved, sometimes we have sustainability problem, and they are forced to downgrade them, and we're also forced to compensate some of those customers. So either way is not favorable to us. So this is the debt status for ECO. The MDAs alone is 666, not million, no, billion. Yeah. And residential, 96 billion. Then the commercial and industrial, 20 billion. So the total debt for ECO as at end of last month is 183 billion. You can imagine if we can have 50% of this, it will go a long way to help our finances. Then over 60% of the discos are technically insolvent. They have negative equity. Creditors and lenders, actions are already initiated in some of these discos. I don't want to mention their names. Then the GenCos are facing the gas supply containment due to non-payment. Then the investors' confidence declining every day. And another major problem that we have is vandalization of the network. You can imagine even in places like Ikoyi, we are having issues of vandalism around that axis. What is the way forward? Smart metering. And thank God, just like the minister mentioned, we have about 17 meters from MAF. Then we also have about 25,000 meters from DISREP. So I'm sure that by 1st of December, we'll commence installation of those 2 meters. And for ECO, I forgot to mention, we have a metering gap of about 145,000 customers that were billing on estimation. But I'm sure that between now and second quarter of next year, we should be done with the metering gap. Because DISREP, we're expecting 119,000 meters from DISREP. They've started, they've delivered 25. Then for PMI, we're expecting about 92,000. So I'm sure that by the time we get those meters, the gap will be closed. Then, how are we trying to solve this problem? So we have invested in AMI. We have AMI. Like I mentioned, we are the only disco with SCADA. So we also have the automatic metering infrastructure and automatic meter reading, advanced metering infrastructure and automatic meter reading, which we are using especially for our KCG meters and also to monitor the PPM meters. The network rehabilitation funding, we are doing that on a daily basis because usually after payment of our OPEX and the loans that we have collected, like the names 1, 2, 3, and 4, whatever comes back to it, part of it is put back into the system, deployed back into the system. Then mini grids to bridge these supply inadequacies. Like I mentioned, we already started having an embedded generation around the NEPA close. And the timeline for closure was supposed to be second quarter of next year. But we had a meeting with them recently. They have moved it to third quarter or before the end of the year. But they are presently working. So what else? Like I've mentioned the SCADA for real-time monitoring, control, and automation. Then we also have a very robust GIS. So we have mapped our infrastructure from 33 up to the DT. So what is remaining for us is to map the customers to the various DT. And once that is done, that will help us to get data real time from the customer. That will also help to improve our cash flow. Then we also have a transparent performance monitoring framework. Every EFR in the code is monitored real time. As they go out every day and as they come back, we know what they are bringing into the system. Then we are advocating for the regulation of the gas prices for the power sector. In conclusion, I would like to say that Nigerian power sector is presently undergoing financial stress, and there's need to promptly address this via public-private participation to avoid the risk of insolvency. And like I mentioned before, some discos are already experiencing that. The Dimitri gap is already been addressed by PMI and the district, like I mentioned. And there is also state participation in the energy power recovery sector, just like the Honorable Commissioner for Energy, Lagos State, mentioned. I think that is the end of my presentation.
A round of applause once again for Mrs. Momo. Short, sharp, precise presentation. Thank you very much. And very insightful too. We will go right now into the panel session. And we are going to make it really quick in the interest of time. Our panelists, thank you once again, Mrs. Momo. Yes. Okay, so I will be calling for our panelists. They've already spoken, but just one of them that didn't speak, I will quickly read out his profile. Peter Adeshola Olowoloni, I hope I pronounce it well. Olowononi, right, okay. It means that is the rich man. Peter Adeshola Olowononi is the Director of Client Relations, Anglophone West Africa, covering Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Gambia, and Cape Verde at the African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim. He joined Afrexim in 2015 as a manager business development and has risen to the position of Director Clients Relations since December 2024. Please join me welcome to the stage, Peter Adeshola Olowononi. Please. Next, I'd like to invite to the stage the Honorable Commissioner, Lagos State Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, Mr. Biodun Ogunleye. Thank you. I'd also like to invite to the stage very quickly Dr. Abba Aliu, Managing Director, Rural Education Agency of Nigeria. Sorry? Renewable, no, it's not Renewable Energy Agency, it's Rural Electrification. Good. Thank you very much. All right, I would also like to invite to the stage Mrs. Rakiat Momo. Please. Okay, and please, the moderator of the panel session, please join me welcome Abimbola Banjo, the only person whose surname is Abimbola Banjo, partner, PwC.
Thank you very much, Kola. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. So you're welcome again. Thank you all for attending our Power Roundtable, the 15th edition. And I think we've actually spent quite a bit of time, so we're going to try to make this very quick and very impactful. So the way we're going to run this, we've listened to our panelists already. So the way we're going to run this is we'd have a quick conversation for about 10-15 minutes, and then we will focus a lot more on a few questions from the audience, right? So my colleagues will send me questions which I'll receive here, and I will channel it to the right person on the panel. Okay. Okay. So let's get into it. So you're all welcome. Thank you again for your brilliant presentations. You know, I always say something that every time I have to attend an event with the Honorable Minister of Power, it's like a lecture at LBS. I have to take notes, so I have a lot of notes here. So Honorable Minister, thank you again very much. It's always a pleasure to have you around. Okay, so let me start again with a general question for each of the panelists. And the question really is, what's your view on the pace of development of our multi-tier electricity market? This is we're talking about since June 2023, right? So first of all, we said that we took out from the legislation where the transmission line is currently, or where there's transmission, federal transmission, right? And then following that was the release of the Electricity Act, right? So that means the states have been empowered to have their own markets. And we listened to the Honorable Commissioner of Energy for Lagos State also give us some insights. So I want to just hear from each of you. What does it mean? And what do you think the pace has been? Right? So maybe starting with you, madam. I think there's a speaker, there's a mic beside you. Yeah, go ahead. I think are we audible? Are we audible on the stage? I think we are.
Thank you. In my opinion, the decentralization of energy markets is the right step in the right direction. But I think we need to collaborate more, the state, the NEC, and the DISCOs. Because if we allow it to be one-sided, we will achieve the desired results. So in my opinion, I think that we need more collaboration because that is the way to go. Thank you.
Yeah, so my perspective is from the off-grid side and the various engagement that we are doing with the state. I think from the off-grid side, we have seen unprecedented level of engagement and development. We have, and we are very much positioned to say this based on the fact that as of today, we have engaged with about 20 states. And in each of the engagement, we make sure that the executive of the state must be there. And we discuss a number of things. We show the mapping of each state and the pathway for the state to start embarking on that, on the electrification and addressing the electricity access in the state. To us, in our mind, we are seeing that level of engagement and collaboration at an unprecedented level. I'm excited personally.
Honorable Commissioner.
Okay, I want to be careful. But I'm faced with him being a political leader and also saying the truth. I should say the truth. Okay. No, permit me to be the political leader that I am. We are working out these details. We are working out these details, and I strongly believe that by the end of December, those who have a target of upturning the law by that same timeline, come my birthday, which is 1st of January, God will touch their heart. They will understand that Nigeria has made a decision, and we have the full support of the Honorable Minister to move in this direction. Because the challenge we have is people thinking we can scatter this thing in the house. We can do this, we can do that. And I bless God for our governors and also for the ministry for trying to make sure that things are balanced out and some of these issues are addressed in very practical manner. So, where are we going? We have a journey, and we have commenced the journey. By the mercies of God, we will get there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I think for us as Afrexim Bank, because we've had a rich history of working with the state, the first power project we did in Nigeria was the Ibom Power Project way back almost two decades ago. What we've seen with the enactment of the Act is that we've seen a new impetus, we've seen a new boldness in the states. There's one of the states that we're working with now, very advanced conversation, where they are now trying to basically buy into the distribution company because they already have an IPP working in the state And that way, you can see them trying to deliberately go for their own energy security because they have a GENCO. Now they want to have a stake in the DISCO. And that way, end to end, they can basically direct the affairs of their state. And I think ultimately, that should be what the Act should be trying to drive in states. States like Ondo State, Ogun State, states where they're already generating capacity, Lagos State. And that way, by working end to end, you can then bring investor confidence. A lender can come in because they can see the source of supply and see the offtake and see it end to end, and that way the financing can be triggered. And I think really it's a good time. We like the energy. We've seen the speed in the conversations, which hitherto would not have been the case, where you will see a state, a sub-sovereign actually approach a multilateral TFI and can show you end to end their plan for energy security. I think that's really a good thing happening in the market.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Thank you. Okay, yes.
Thank you so much. And this is unconventional, but I considered it imperative to add my voice to the issue of federal-state collaboration in regulation. We should not forget that in any human endeavor and organizational evolution, there are stages, and we must appreciate that stage. You have the forming stage, you have the storming stage, you have the storming, norming, that's forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. We are at the forming stage through the enactment of EA 2023. So the next stage that we expect is actually the storming stage. So what is happening now, according to Biodun Ogunleye, the Honorable Commissioner, is not unexpected. We need to storm before we norm. So it will take the intervention of the coordinating minister to deliberately and intentionally intervene in bringing both the federal actors and the state actors together. If you remember, I mentioned it at an inaugural meeting we had at the hotel in Marriott in Ikeja. You guys almost boxed me that day, the commissioners. I said, though we're excited with this transformation, but I did not expect it to be as smooth as you envisaged, that we should take our time. At that time, I proposed that we use pilot states, one from each of the geopolitical setting in Nigeria, and let us consider the peculiarities and uniqueness of each geopolitical zone. Eko and Ikeja electricity under Lagos zone, you cannot compare the profiles, the market profile, with Yola that has Borno, Yobe, Taraba, and the likes. You cannot compare it with Kano, you understand, with Katsina, Kebbi, and all that, or Jos, with all the middle belts. The markets are quite different. We could have learned better if we started with pilots and using the learning curve in that to replicate to other states. No, everybody wanted this autonomy almost immediately. You understand? But no problem. We have passed that stage. How do we resolve what we have now? And I also talked to you guys, the Committee of Energy Commissioners, that, okay, give me about 7 of you representatives, let us sit down with NAC and let's design deliberately how to transform from a single national market to the multi-tier markets. But I'm happy now that you guys are ready for this meeting. Yes, and we can't just leave it to go on like this. We must make the storming stage as short as possible so that we can start norming and decide on what are the engagement rules with this collaboration, cooperation, and partnership. So I can promise you, I've spoken to NAC already. I'm going to talk to the state commissioners and the state regulators for us to come together in a roundtable and start stating the rules of engagement. What are the do's, what are the don'ts? And everybody is on the same page so that once we look and we go beyond the norming stage, we can start performing before I leave office. Otherwise, this will last longer than expected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. What did I tell you about the Honorable Minister? Okay, so let me ask you, Mrs. Momo. With this multi-tier market, what has changed for Eco Electricity? What has changed?
We have improved on our operational efficiencies, and we're also engaging the regulators, both at the federal and the state level, and we're also upping up our automation process. So most of our standards were already reviewed to ensure that we are not penalized when Lagos State takes up.
So you are talking about a dual regulation scenario?
Yes, because right now the NEC, Abuja, and Lagos State, they are both engaging with us. Yeah,
so, Honorable Commissioner, this is for you. So, in what key ways are you collaborating with the utilities under your purview? And how are you striking a balance between collaboration and regulation?
Am I allowed to pass? Because I wish I'm only speaking to executives or within closed doors, and then we can.
It's a closed door, sir.
No, it's not closed. It's not closed. The wisdom is to pass. I think the wisdom is to pass. But let me say something. Listen.
Please.
Honorable Minister has said something, and that is to the effect that I will translate what he has said to in another dimension. Fear is real. Fear is real. And in all human endeavor, all of us have a right to be suspicious of each other. I understand that. But law says you are now under this regulation. You are seeking dual regulation. What do you want me to be saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We don't need to. The law says you are now to be regulated by this person. You now say you are still reporting to that person. You and I know that the state is talking about feeder level analysis. The state is talking about substations. The state is going down the stream to look at your details. And those details are not comfortable. And I'm not expecting them to be comfortable. But we can make it easy on each other. But internally, as a Lagos State government, we made an unwritten decision. Pipe down for 1 year. Let's see the miracle. Let's give them that 1 year. Let's try and engage them softly. God will help all of us. I believe before this is my goal is very simple. Before you depart, sir, we will be able to say that the following business units in the Lagos area have, in the last 300 days, not had a blink in their supply. And I believe it's possible if parties, market operators, cooperate with each other. We need to inject money, and very fast. We need to inject managerial capacity, and very fast. We don't believe penalizing, being the new oppressor in town, and all that is the approach. We believe if we collaboratively look at the challenges, and we can say to ourselves, hey, you are supposed to be earning this much, and you're expected to be spending this much. Let's look at the numbers together. Continue to earn what you're supposed to be earning as your returns on this volume of assets you have. We need somebody to bring in additional assets. Our approach, just like you have said, sir, is an integrated scenario at the end of the day. Somewhere where we know we don't want to be completely dependent on the national grid. Initially, when I said this thing, some people even want to slap me. What are you saying? When I also said that we need to ensure that we have 100% metering. And the metering we are talking about is not for you to be counting meters that have been on the network, that have not been serviced, that have not been whatever for over 12, 15 years, and you say you have meters. We know we are not saying, I can't say that we're not saying the truth. That's not correct. It's not correct English. It's not correct corporate English. We know there can be some inaccuracies in that. Okay, Honorable Minister has advised me. Maybe I'll be economical with the truth. So, but on a very serious note, as partners, you have profit motive, Frank. We have service. Mr. President has promised we will deliver like this. We have 18 months. The last 12 months, and I'm not joking about it. We have to look at ourselves eyeball to eyeball, because Lagos will not be the ones that will be found wanting. It will be, we will be able to place it squarely. We tried this. It did not work on account of the following. Straight and simple. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Gule, before you drop, I wanted to ask you, there was something you said you raised it again here. And I think the Honorable Minister also mentioned, and it was really around the capacity of the state regulator. You know, you also mentioned the fact that the mantle was just dropped suddenly, that you would have expected some sort of hand-holding, a proper transition, right? So the question is, how ready is the Lagos State Electricity Regulator to manage the utilities under its purview?
Okay, so the first thing you need to check is the profile of our regulators. We were deliberate about ensuring that we have people who have a relevant experience coming with us. The next layer, which we have not given any prominence to them, but time by time you see them, you see that we're also deliberate about ensuring that the next layer, the management, the proper hand-on management people are also people with farm experience in the industry and are able to deal with specific issues as they are planned for. Now, Honorable Minister pointed us to the fact that in the beginning, you will fumble, you wobble, you get things right. We are investing so much in training. And for those who have also been following us, I remember then offering that, as far as Lagos is concerned, help me divide NEC. Give me some staff from NEC. Give me some staff from all the regulatory arms that are relevant to us for a number of months, and all them. Give us for a number of months. Let them work with the people we are bringing in. Give them hands-on. There can be further collaboration, exchange of ideas, knowledge sharing, support to ensure that these new people, that's why the industry experience also, yes, you may want to tell me, Dubi, who is a chairman, has been chairman and for how long, has been in the industry for how long, but he's not in the last two NEC and all that. So let's make their experience more relevant. Let's have people that can support them. We are not saying that we are all ready. We can. No, we are not saying that. We are also saying, even within the disco, and if you check our profile, we deliberately also pick some people from a Genco, from a disco. It was a deliberate strategy on our part. So, and I believe if you also check places like Enugu, check the profile of the men that are leading the place. I was a pure industry practitioner when I was brought in, and so we may not be ready the way you want us to be, but I also want you to remember that even the last, as far back as I can know, I can remember, most of NEC executives that were brought in, a lot of them don't have prior regulatory experience at the time they are being brought in. But over time, they get to learn. You have loads of consultants supporting them. You have loads of rule books and guidelines that they have to work with. And all of us just make it a better place for each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Mr. Lee, this question is for you. I've asked everyone how the multi-tier market has impacted their organization or their establishment. So for the REA, what has changed? How has that changed your operations, and what changes do we still expect from the area? Sorry, but before you answer, please can you put up the Slido link? Please can you send your questions through this portal, because we will not be taking open questions in the session. So please just go to slido.com, fix in that number there and put in your questions, and then my colleagues will send the questions to me. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes. All right, thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so when I said that from off-grid perspective, the change has been unprecedented, I meant it in all aspects. And I would like to give practical scenarios. If you go to Adamawa, for example, the state has taken over the world-class training center that we built in at Federal University of Technology, and signed an MOU with a leading consulting company called Prem Plus to train 500 youth of the state in the renewable energy, starting with the first 100 that currently they are undergoing that. Without without the act that has shown the state that they are now responsible, that wouldn't have happened. If you go to Maiduguri, we built 12 megawatts of capacity that is powered the university and the teaching hospital. There's an excess of about 4.8 megawatts that is redundant. Currently, we are about to sign a bankable arrangement with the state to take the excess capacity to power the water treatment plant that is serving the entire Maiduguri metropolitan. To us, that is a change. If you also find the news, you will see that Akwa Ibom recently engaged AO ECPO to build the state electricity market. AO brought almost entire power sector to Uyo. To us, that is also an achievement. If we also sat with every 20 of these governors, and to tell you, without the act, wouldn't have even have the audacity to see a governor and show him the assessment that we have done in 5 areas: policy, infrastructure, data, capacity development, and investment, and look into the eye of the governor and tell him that your state score 1/5. The act is what gave us that opportunity. In my mind, a lot is happening. It's just that we are either not seeing what is happening or appreciating what is happening. But those pieces and bits of things that are happening are changing the narrative, making people to know, making the state know their responsibility and taking that responsibility. Just now, last week, the governor of Jigawa sent us a tender bid that they want to power also their water treatment plant, the state government using solar. Ordinarily, before this, they will wait and be saying that there's no power, no power. But now they have taken that based on the change. So the simple reorientation, I think, is changing. And like you said, different states are in different levels. There are some states that are very far. There are states that I'm talking, but there are the states that are not talking, and they're taking simple steps that would change the narrative of the state in it. I can tell you 11 states that have taken the NESIP data, and they are building it as part of the state development plan. I can also tell you a number of commissioners that will call me to ask questions because they are planning for their budget of next year. Just also yesterday, the commissioner of Maiduguri called, asked a number, certain information for him to build it in his budget for next year. That's a change. That's a positive change. Otherwise, before the state sits, there is no budget in the state. Things are happening for those that want to see the things that are happening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Liu. And it was interesting when you mentioned the leverage that states can have when using the NESIP, right? And some of the work that you've done in electrifying some of these communities. What's the linkage between these two, the NEP, the the electrification project, as well as the NESIP. What's the linkage between the two?
So the NESIP is what the minister gave us the target since when we came to develop. The NESIP is supposed to have, when you have too many players within the market, one of the challenge that even the Commissioner of Lagos mentioned is having too many players cooking the food, right? So there is need to have one framework that helps to direct each and every person. So what the NESIP did first is to tell each state that when it comes to off-grid, this is what you are taking. This, and that is why we did the state readiness assessment. That's the first thing that we present to them. Lagos State, this is where you are when it comes. And I'm happy to say it's only Lagos State, I think, that scores 4/5 or 3/5, I'm not too sure. But this is where you are when it comes to policy, when it comes to infrastructure, because we have mapped the entire lower, medium, and low voltage line. We have mapped the communities, like I mentioned. We know the number of households. We know even if there's security challenge in a community, all the NESIP has that data. So we first show them that. So the second thing that the NESIP also does is to give them a basic minimum requirement for an off-grid market or off-grid ecosystem, so that they don't just come and start distorting the work that we have done. And we use the private sector incentivization to tell them that if you come and disrupt, you are from Kano, you want to disrupt the market, the private sector may have the right to take the funding and go to Oyo State. There's nothing will stop them, because you are supposed to create an enabling environment. So we tell them what are those enabling environments that are required for them to do. And in that engagement, we also give the rest course to give directly feedback to the governor himself to know, to say that this, I have been to your state, but this is the challenge that I face. Fix it and I will go back. They will do, they give them that kind of opportunity. So the NESIP help to channel different players and create what should be the right off-grid market in a state and how it should be. That is what we do.
Thank you very much. And round of applause, please. So, for me, I think I hear alignments. I hear congruence between what the federal is doing and what the state is doing. You know, and it looks like a lot is going on, particularly with what you are doing at the area, whether it's rural or renewable. But a lot is going on there, and it seems like with what is going on, there's a lot the states can actually leverage to power their own states. And I remember we've had engagements in the past with the states where some of those engagements were misconstrued as not wanting the states to move forward or forge ahead, because there's some incentive for the federal not to. And I think we've always tried to clarify that, first of all, as a firm, we don't even have a position, but the point is always that there's a need for that congruence to achieve things going forward. So thank you very much for that feedback, Mr. Aliyu. I think one thing that has been consistent in this event that we've run for the last 15 years, right? And even as each of the speakers were going through their slides, I heard the same theme. And when Mrs. Momo was speaking, I was just waiting to see whether she would also tick that box. And her conclusion, when she talked about financing that the utility needs, I said, yes, finally. Everybody has sung from the same hymn book. So one thing that is common is that this sector needs liquidity. And there's nobody better to give us some insights than Mr. Oluwononi. I want you to just tell me something. What energy reforms in sub-Saharan Africa has Afrexim supported? And are these initiatives replicatable in this our multi-tier market?
Thank you very much. I think the most important reform that we have supported is actually what's going on in Nigeria now, which is to create a multi-tier market, decentralize the market, and allow mini-grids, micro-grids, be able to generate their own power and solve their own problems as they deem fit. If your solution is solar, because you have a natural endowment, you go for it. If you have gas, I was in the Delta yesterday, I counted at least 48 flare sites from the helicopter. What's all that gas being flared? If you can generate gas to power, you do your gas to power. If you can do hydro, you do hydro. So I think the decentralization and the opening of the market is really the panacea to this challenge that we've been facing. Now I'm speaking as a Nigerian. Every time we talk about finance, as you said clearly in the room, finance, finance, finance. But the real issue has been, it's not a lack of finance. Finance is like a beautiful woman, right? What does she want? She wants security. She wants certainty in the man. She wants faithfulness, right? That's what finance is looking for. And finance will flow to you naturally. Today we have a balance sheet we're trying to fund, but a lot of times when you don't even have, we did the Kaduna Disco, by the way. We did the Euro-Afrique. So we have put money, and we also know how the finger, I won't say it got burnt, maybe got roasted actually, right? It is until we do what we are doing now that we can basically reverse and ask the banks to come and finance, and you would see us do it. As I mentioned, just for want of confidentiality, the name of the state has been called in this room. It's the first time that you can see a state saying, this bank is receiving my FAC. They can issue you a guarantee. You have cheaper cost of funds. Can you advance me money to buy the stake in this disco and let me take charge of the disco? How would you have had this conversation?
Many years ago.
Mr. Abba completely agrees. These are, so it's baby steps, but when you trigger this kind of changes, as someone mentioned on the panel earlier, you cannot do the same thing for so many years and expect a different result. These are the baby steps that we're triggering. Let's trigger them. Let's try to do them. But I can tell you that the conversation is receiving a favorable consideration from Afrexim Bank, who had, at some point, we had said, let's watch this sector closely. But you can see there's favorable consideration because now we can see end to end. The smaller piece is easier to analyze and dissect and structure your credit around to make the financing available. And I believe that that's the way forward, really.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. Louder, please. I think, so just hold that mic. So you started talking a bit about structures, and I heard you talk about FAC, linking some of these things to the state FAC and the acquisition of the utility and the stake and the kind of returns. So I reckon somewhere around there is the return profile that the bank can leverage on, and the FAC will be some sort of guarantee or backstop to that cash flow. But I think the question for me is, what other types of innovative solutions or structures for the people listening in this room are you looking at as an organization, right? And generally speaking, what are the CPs?
Thank you, Banjo. Of course, each credit is usually structured it's on a case-by-case basis, right? You have to look at the state, you have to look at their own uniqueness, or look at the counterparty facing you. For like in other countries, for example, where we've done like large-scale metering, right? We have El Suidi. It's a massive, in Egypt, a massive electric company. What we've done with them, for example, is to say, you will go and pre-fund, like they will pre-finance, and then we will discount the invoices, and then term out the repayment over a longer period, right? But we will ensure that they deliver the solution first, so that performance risk is taken off, which maybe a bank would have been afraid of. Yes. They trust their capacity, they have the performance, they have track record, they put in the smart meters, digitally tracked, they deploy them, we see it, and then we pay them, knowing that now we can see where whoever loads on those meters, all the cash flow is going to a central bank, when I mean a central bank, a single collection bank, right? Against which we can then be certain. And then what we've even seen is that some of those banks come and chase us away. They say, no, Afrexim, we don't even want you to finance. We are seeing the cash flows now. So really, there will be no one-size-fits-all. It will be on a case-by-case basis. But I don't think there's any new financing solution under the sun. It's been done somewhere. It's been the Rufiji Dam project we did in Tanzania. All we did was to bring the contractor, bring the state, bring all the three parties together, and we gave them a guarantee. And they delivered 2,115 megawatts of brand new power to the country. So it's, again, as I've mentioned, it's a case like this, the one we're considering with the state. It's the banks that are receiving the FAC. We like those banks because we've been working with them for a long time. So we just said, if you give us a guarantee from these banks, we will go ahead. But in the course of looking at the transaction, we're even realizing that we don't even need a full guarantee. We just need some skin in the game to give us comfort. So again, as I've mentioned, case by case and structures can happen.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, please go ahead. Pass it to the Honorable Commissioner.
Okay, let me speak on behalf of the states. And let me also speak with the benefit of my little experience as an investment banker. See, this idea of pledging our FAC, let us be careful. Electricity is a business. Any dubious person can go and put up all manner of dubious projects and pledge FAC against it and create problem for the next 2, 3, 4 governors that are coming behind him. Let's make sure that we are creative enough to ensure that between equities or the skin in the game and the revenues that is expected from the business, the lending is as secured as possible. I plead for the sake of my children. I'm already getting close to getting out of business or active activity. I plead for the sake of our children. Don't let us allow a window where some pack of boys, men, or whatever can go and mortgage their future. And we're saying, how did we open our eyes and allow this to happen? Because electricity is the new place where everybody thinks we can make all the dough now. And I appeal that let's approach this with a lot of caution. Yes, we need the money, but I would rather that you finance for me the solution that we have for Ajangbadi community, the solution that we have for Victoria Island, for Ikoyi, that is tied specifically in small, nimble bits to cash flow and what the new or partner investors are able to put on the table. That is a simple appeal I want to make, and I believe in the spirit of the roundtable.
I think it's...
Okay, let Honorable Minister...
Thank you, Honorable Commissioner.
Okay, after...
I think I think it's important to respond to that. As I mentioned, Honorable Commissioner, every credit is done on a case-by-case basis. And maybe towards even the ending of my submission, I mentioned that we're already saying that we don't even need a full cover because we have taken an advisory mandate to look at the end-to-end solution for the state. We realize that collection is very important. We're in discussion with Coleman Wires, for example, and we're in discussion with LCWD to incorporate an SPV so that LCWD can have boots on the ground and they can jointly provide a technical solution, the AT and sale losses we're talking about, all the metering challenges, so that we do not, as you rightly, we're a development bank, sir. The intention is not to get a state and get them into further debt, but to ensure that the solution we provide ultimately is as pain-free as possible for the state. So that's essentially what we're doing. We have an advisory mandate with the state, and we're believing that by the time we do this, a state like Lagos State, that state may be a model for other states, because again, sir, maybe today, the reason why you will make this comment is I'm a Nigerian sitting here. But if I was from Zimbabwe, the man from Zimbabwe will tell you that if you want my money, you have to give me the protection that you have. So your FAC is your protection. So if you are not willing to give him something to cover him, then why should a bank based in Cairo come and take risk on you? So that's really the way we must see this thing sometimes when we approach multilateral banks. Because a lot of times they look at you and say, oh, really? This stuff you have, you are not willing to give? Then it means you really don't believe in the success of what you are trying to do. So, but I believe that maybe that's why I'm looking at the business for West Africa. I have home knowledge, and I'm able to find the best ways that will ensure that the states, it's really because we cannot talk about industrialization, export manufacturing, if we do not solve this power issue. Why would we import POP cement from Cairo? It is because it is cheaper to produce. We have the same, the pharmaceuticals fits in. They are struggling to compete against these Egyptian companies, again, because of the issue of power. But once we can solve that and basically dismantle all these roadblocks, Honorable Commissioner, I think we're really on course, and I really would like to sit with you to see how we can also work together with Lagos State.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, this is your comments, yes. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olowononi. I know you've been bullish as Afri-Exim, participating in the power sector. I know what you did in Kaduna. I think you're also involved in Benin or wherever. No, Kaduna or Motosho, you launched the power plants. You know, at the Federal Ministry of Power, we're trying to put together a master plan for short-term, medium-term, and long-term financing structure for the power sector, because they are quite different, depending on the timing you are looking at. The destination is for the sector to be able to fund itself. It's a very profitable sector. When you talk about telecoms today, they easily attract finance because it's fully liberalized and the operators are making money. Once you have a structure that is making money, you are attractive to bankers. That is the destination for the power sector. The moment the revenues in the power sector is able to pay fully for the energy cost, energy invoice, it's an achievement. And you're able to pay for 90% of your operations cost. Nobody will force banks before they are ready to give you money. So that's the destination we are targeting. And the only way you can achieve that is when you have commercial pricing of energy cost. The moment you still rely on government subsidies of almost 60% of revenues, it's a lie. You cannot get banks. Because government will only promise you subsidy. Cash release is a different thing entirely. As of December 2024, we had 4 trillion indebtedness hanging. By December this year, it will be 6 trillion because it's average of 200 billion naira per month. For 12 months, it's 2.4 trillion every year. So that is the destination. We must transit fully to commercial pricing and let people pay the true cost of energy. Then the industry will be. But before then, yes, there must be a journey, a very transparent transition program to achieve that. The industry must be de-risked before banks can come in. And that is what we are doing, especially in the renewable energy space. World Bank, AFDB, GIZ, AFD, all development partners are supporting us in de-risking the renewable energy space, which is why you see a lot of renewable energy vendors springing up today. And we have a lot of programs whereby 30% or 40% of the cost will be subsidized. We call it capital subsidy by World Bank. It's under DERES, it's under NEP, and a lot of other programs. Even JICA has keyed into this, promising us $190 million to add to $750 million from the World Bank. And the vendors who had 70% of their own capital, if you gross that up, you know what that means for the industry. That's why we're having faster growth in the renewable energy sector. Now, looking at the conventional energy sector, we need to try to divide this into various segments. And the funding requirement for each of the segments differs from each other. When you are funding generation segments, it's different from you funding transmission, different from you giving money for discos in distribution. For generation, sincerely, I don't think we lack funding in there. Because you see a lot of them springing up, both the hydropower and thermal. The moment they're able to get their energy invoices paid, the funders or the financials are sure that they will be able to get their returns back and even their principal back. For transmission, that is the only segment that is 100% owned by government today. And we know that it's so huge that government cannot continue to fund it alone. So what we have done is to establish a financing framework that will attract private sector investors to come into transmission lines, and they can fund specific load centers in terms of transmission, specific substations, specific transformers. And since there is a willing charge that is payable on those lines, they have a line of sight on how their investment will be recouped. That is for transmission. And we have started talking to NAC. They are even reviewing the willing charges for the transmission segment up so it to be attractive for private sector investors. Then lastly is the discos. Let me tell you, the way the discos are today, no bank will touch them with a long, no bank. They must restructure their balance sheet. They must inject new capital. And their gearing ratio has to come down. That's the only way the banks can actually fund the discos. But we also must de-risk it. And we are getting technical support from JICA. We just had a meeting yesterday. They are picking a couple of discos, whereby they can see how they can clean them up and try to prepare a template that other discos will replicate. Number one is you must clear losses, reduce losses significantly. There's no way a disco will be having 40% ATC&C losses, and you say banks come and bring money. They will not. 40% of revenue is lost. How will you pay back at the current interest rate? So we must point out the point of losses, inject capital, invest in infrastructure, reduce these losses to acceptable levels. When you do that, you improve your collections so that your collection ratio, your billing ratio will improve greatly, and that will affect your liquidity. So with capital injection and increased revenues from operations, the banks will come, but they know that you will pay them back. Until we do that, don't let me lie to you, it will be tough to attract financing to this industry. And lastly is the consumer financing, which is key too. Number one, for renewable energy space. I embrace renewable energy not from the point of climate protection alone or our decarbonization targets of achieving carbon neutrality by 2060. No. Contribution of African countries to emission is less than 1%. So I'm not bothered about carbon emission. But I'm open to renewable energy because of the impact it plays on energy access expansion. That is the fastest way to extend energy to remote rural areas and border communities without extending the grid due to non-viability. That is the only way. And not just to bring light to households alone, but to also improve their productivity and bring prosperity to these people. They still remain largely agrarian society. What role will renewable energy do in boosting irrigation in the northern part of Nigeria? Solar pumps are there. What role will renewable energy play in improving storage of excess harvest in these areas with cold storage? What role will they play in agri-processing to boost productivity? Not just that they just need energy for lighting up household, but productive use equipment must be considered. By the takeoff requirements for installing renewable energy is not affordable to all these stakeholders, the consumers. So what we have done is to ensure that through DRS, through NEP, and some local banks are already key into it. There's a Sterling Bank, $5 billion Naira facility to fund this through distribution of solar home systems by vendor financing. They can actually spread the payment over 24 months, over 48 months to be able to afford all these gadgets. So consumer financing from renewable energy is much easier than looking at wholesale financing of generation, transmission, and distribution. But once the master plan is out, I think all the discos will be able to take it and look at what is the transition journey between now and our effective destination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Louder, please. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're getting to the end of this panel session. So some of your questions have started coming in. So I'm just going to throw this first question to the first question here is there a clear-cut framework by state regulatory for DISCOs to work with? How is state ensuring single regulatory reporting line than dual regulatory? I think this is for you, Commissioner. Let me read it again. This came from the.
Am I a disco? Okay, so
yeah.
I think that question you may want to break it down into components.
Well, the person says here, is there a clear-cut framework by the state regulator for DISCOs to work with? Let's start with
The law is very clear now.
Yeah.
What other framework do you need? It's like somebody at one forum telling us that honorable ministers still need to go and do some work. We need to do some research. What kind of I'm sorry. In one language they say what around nonsense is that? I'm sorry. I don't know who wrote that question, but the law is clear. By so time, this is your new regulator. Report to the regulator. For me, it is as simple and as straightforward as that. Acts of lawlessness should not be encouraged. No matter how political we want to be, and I think, if I remember very well, we had a session, the two DISCOs in our own area with NEC, and for me, I take that as a ruling. NEC made a firm pronouncement at the end of that session. They have no other place to report except for the Lagos whatever. But I also remember that at some point, Commissioner Legal in NEC also, therefore, he made a simple pronouncement on this issue. There is no need for us to waste energy on that one. The second part is which one now?
He says, let me read it also. He says, how is the state ensuring single regulatory reporting?
How will the state ensure? See, when
or maybe
we
let's
meet,
rephrase
when
it.
we meet,
what are we doing?
See. The only thing we can do is to start firing penalties and all that. Nigerians love drama. Do you understand?
Yeah.
When the drama steps in now, everybody will say, is it right? Is it wrong? We'll all go and bring the law out. At the end of the day, okay, we are sorry. All the politics will now move in and all that. But let's do this thing in a very matured and whatever way. It's not going to be easy reporting to your next door neighbor who knows all your secrets all along. So we take that as a lesson and all that, and we work together to ensure that it's as painless as possible. And then there is no need for, and there's nobody that's a saint here. Let me also lay that one. I live within the network. Maybe I also have issues in my own apartment or something. So maybe I need to check. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a state regulator.
Yes.
So, but let me just play the role of the umpire. It's not as clear-cut as Mr. Ogunle has put it. It's not. During transition period, we'll sit down and this framework will be formalized. I know NAC has something that they are proposing, but I will intervene and make sure that no side is cheated. During transition, you can have dual reporting. That's it. Laws are made for men, not men for the law. Flexibility. Wait. Let me tell you, there's flexibility. Let me just give you an example that will make you agree with me. This EcoDisco Eco Disco does not have only Lagos, the control. You're in Agbara. Agbara is Ogun State. Same thing with Ikeja Disco. They have Lagos territory, they have Ogun State territory. But on the Disco has territories across covering 7 states. Ibadan, Oyo, Osun, Ekiti, Kwara, Kogi, up to Niger State. Kanji is under Ibadan. You understand? So, Ibadan cannot be under Oyo State Regulatory Commission alone. And what we are saying is that for you to have exclusivity, it must be on a subco. ECO needs to form a subco, one representing Lagos State, one representing Ogun State. All your regulatory oversight will be on the subsidiary company that is just for Lagos State. That is what is happening in Enugu. Orashi Disco for Imo State is the one Imo State that is regulating Imo State. You understand? Orashi Disco is the one Imo State is regulating, not Enugu Disco. So during transition, dual reporting is allowed. But we must make sure that the transition period is short as possible so that you can actually have exclusivity on the subsidiary companies under the Disco. For IBEDC in Ibadan, there will be 7 subsidiary companies that will fall under Ibadan Disco. You understand? For Lagos, for Eco Disco now, what about if Ogun State has not started activating their regulatory? Eco will still be reporting to NAC as regards Ogun territory, while they are reporting to Lagos State as regards Lagos territory. So don't let us foreclose the possibility of dual reporting. It's not to complicate issues, but to, pass through the transition period. But it will be documented, there will be a framework, and everybody will know the rules of engagement. That is still the norming stage, and we'll pass through it successfully.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Point of information. Honorable Minister, sir, I have to address
No,
you.
please sit down, sir.
I should sit down.
Please sit down.
Okay, so I'm addressing my minister, and I need to give him information. Number 1, NEC has released balance sheet for the subcos in the 2 discos that are with us. Those balance sheets have been released. For the sake of theoretical analysis, to incorporate a company in Nigeria now, how long does it take? 1 month? 2 weeks. Let's even assume it has not been incorporated. But unfortunately, we are giving documents, and NEC has published more than 7-8 months ago the balance sheet for Ogun State, the balance sheet for Lagos State. It's public document. If you want my team to quickly pull it and they send it to you, we'll pull it. Now, this is your territory, this is whatever. Report these segments to Lagos. While you are reporting, Ogun is not yet ready on this segment to NEC, which is the position that you have taken. We have chosen informally to give them, they even said, they proposed all these amendments and we're going after a long whatever. For us, we don't want quarrel. We don't want problems. We don't want our people to suffer outages on account of regulatory disagreement. So, for us, how long do you need to get this thing done? The maximum day both of them are requested for, my governor has graciously said, leave them. All right? If your regulation is now coming out, if the framework document is now coming out, after that period has expired, we are going to have sound objection. Yes. So whatever we are doing should be from effective date, and none of that should be more than 6 to 9 months. Yes. I think it's reasonable for anybody to do whatever they need to do. But I want to inform you, Honorable Minister, there has been some other arguments, tax issues, issues around, let me try and remember.
Legacy subsidies.
Levies, tariff, issues around ownership, issues around subsidy
yes.
and all that. Now, this is what. No. This is what we are saying. Remember that one meeting that the federal and the states cannot afford not to have within the next few days. As far as I'm concerned, it's even a matter of hours. Don't let us carry this subsidy thing into the new year. We need to sit down, eyeball to eyeball, and take a firm position on subsidy. No state will agree not to take your subsidy regime for as long as it's available. No, so if you premise it on that one, there's an alignment on subsidy.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. Thank you very much. And I think we have to end here. I think we've been very patient. Thank you very much, everyone, for sitting here with us patiently. I think just to wrap up, I'm going to ask one last question of everybody on this panel. And Honorable Minister, you have to indulge me. One will go to you, sir. So starting with, on my left, Ms. Momo, what prayer, we have the Honorable Minister sitting in front of us here. Right? What prayer do we have of the Honorable Minister with respect to the, we are disco, so with you in terms of making things more seamless within the multi-tier market? What prayer do you have?
My appeal to the Honorable Minister is to help us with the MDA debts, just like as presented. And finally, I want to say, together we win. More collaboration, more synergy, and more cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lee?
Let's run
to obviously renewable.
Of course. Ramco to start operation. Let's innovate these assets. Let's start to go to the capital market to start raising funding to continue to do work. We need to start in a situation whereby there's no DFI funding. Let's make sure that we use our asset to catalyze the funding. We discuss on the PSRO. I don't have to give detail on that one. So those are my prayers.
Okay. Mr. Olunoni, any comments to the Minister?
Honorable Minister, there should be another roundtable with the financial institutions, the local banks, the TFIs, and the international financial partners that you're working with. Some of us have money that is stuck. We need to at least engage you so that you understand how your framework, how your working, your plans can align with our realities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Honorable Commissioner, I know you give a long commentary. Any top up?
No comment.
All right. Honorable all right. Thank you very much.
I always engage you privately.
Honorable Minister, any comments to what you...
No comment, just like... Just like Yodun said, it's a continuous conversation. And you know that my doors are always open. We didn't start from here. We worked together in the bank, together with his boss, Jide Sanwo-Olu. So he knows how to get me. You understand? So what I'm just promising him is that we appreciate all the issues that will be teething issues when it comes to transiting to a multi-tier electricity market as against a single national market. All these issues are not unexpected. And there are plans to resolve them together. No one side can do it alone. All we want is their cooperation, their collaboration, so that we can all partner from the national perspective and the state perspective. Let us sit down, identify each of these issues, and agree on a path to resolving them. And I believe the federal government is ready, with Mr. President as the captain, to give us all the necessary support to ensure the success of this sector. And we are there to implement all his dreams for the sector. Let me use the opportunity to also thank PwC for this roundtable. Yes, you have tried, and I believe it should not stop here. He has raised the issue of financing, where we need to engage all the financial institutions so that they can actually understand the core issues in the sector, and they can design products that will fit the sector, regardless of all the hiccups that we have raised. And the audience, who are the experts, I believe this session has actually made us even understand the industry better and what the government is doing from its part to ensure that we have a power sector of our dream. So, the senior partner, country partner, thank you so much. My dear brother, we are together. Thank you so much. Banjo, thanks so much. And every other PwC person that's there, Daffy is there, and Ausere did not come, and a couple of others. You know, succession is good. When we were in the farm, we thought that after Nsarisin, there will be no PwC again. But you can see that it's like a barrack. Soldier goes, soldier come. Some of I give it to you. They've been able to sustain the legacy of PwC. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So with that, we've come to the end of this session. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, audience. Thank you very much.
Okay, just before we close, we just hold on, please. We're going to take some pictures. Sam, please, can you join Minister? Can you join us on the high table? Let's take the pictures before we give the closing remarks. And yes, please, let's take some pictures and then we'll give some closing remarks. I didn't want to stay by you. Maybe I stay by the minister's side. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thanks. Thanks so very much. We have some gift items for our speakers. Is there any money? Honorable Minister, a small token for you. Thank you very much. Honorable Commissioner. Oh my God. Yes, I remember her. Nice to see you, Commissioner, sir. That's your gift. Dr. Ahmed. Aha. Sorry. Hold on. The way that's always the. Aha. Thank you. Paparazzi. Aha. Where's my Madam Echo Disco? Where are you, man? Echo Disco, man. Ah, please. Let me. Paparazzi, come over here. Come over here. Me too. Thank you. Okay, that's always good. So, on behalf of all the partners and staff of PwC, thank you so much for coming. We look forward to seeing you next year. Next year, 2026. Mr. Peterson. Aha. No, for being a panelist.